Good evening. We're ready to begin. This Planning Commission meeting is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV, Cable Channel 2. You can also watch this meeting live on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV on the Go Vegas app. The Planning Commission meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, can be viewed on the internet at www.kclvtv.tv/live. The proceedings will be rebroadcast on KCLV and the web the Saturday after the meeting at 10 a.m., Monday at midnight, and the following Tuesday at 6 p.m. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Madam Clerk, can we get the roll, please?
Certainly. Chair Cherry.
Present.
Vice Chair Williams.
Present.
Commissioner Schlottman.
Present.
Commissioner Rogan.
Present.
Commissioner Walsh.
Present.
Commissioner Kasama. Commissioner Taylor.
Present.
And excuse me, Chair, I believe we're going to raise Commissioner Kasama on the phone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, I call your attention to the information printed in the agendas. There are some located right here on the wall here, if anyone wants to follow along. Please read this carefully. If you have any questions, staff is available. Also on the second page of the agenda, we have our rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Moving on to item number 4. All comments made under this item for specific action will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who wish to be heard under this portion of the agenda? Please. I'll need your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, the name is Dr. Malcolm Danishka, D-E-J-N-O-Z-K-A, at 10335 Bays Mountain Avenue.
Thank you.
I just have asking for a clarification to the agenda. Mm-hmm. I noticed that many of us are here to talk about, or thought we were going to talk about, the LDS temple on your agenda, number 31, I believe. And we are led to understand that that now has been tabled for this meeting and that it's going to be moved to next month. Is that correct?
Yes, Doctor. It's on the up for a possible abeyance as a request, so that'll be voted on shortly on the next item here.
Okay, so there will be no general discussion on that topic at all this time?
If the abeyance passes, no. It'll be at the next meeting that it's heard at, which will be stated during that motion as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it. Seeing no one else, I'll close the public hearing and go on to item number 5. Oh, please, if there's anyone else that needs to speak, please come up. We have 3 microphones.
First time.
That's no problem. No problem. Happy you're here.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Name and address?
Name and address for the record, please.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Maximilian Jansen. My address is 3776 Autumn King Avenue, Henderson, Nevada. And I would like to just speak on behalf of all the advocates for affordable housing. I do know that is on the agenda today. And I want to say it to everyone in the room. I myself, I'm so tall. I think I'm just going to step back. Can you still hear me? Is that good? I'm a homeowner in Las Vegas, and I want fellow homeowners to sort of reflect on the privilege and power we have as individuals who own our own homes, and to remember that there are so many people in our community that aren't looking for housing to sort of turn a profit or expand their financial portfolios. They simply want somewhere to sleep at night with 4 walls around them and a roof over their heads. So I just really think everyone is entitled to that right, and that's all.
Thank you, Maximilian. Thanks for coming out. Anyone else like to be heard during this portion of the agenda? Need your name and address for the record, please.
Hello. My name is Dr. Annie Wilson, The address 3358 Trickland Stream, Las Vegas, Nevada 89117. I'm just here to talk about the housing component, that I am in agreement with the housing component. As a concerned citizen, we need more housing, affordable housing. I get calls every day from seniors.
Thank you. That item will be heard tonight if you want to speak during that portion.
Okay, thank you.
For the, it was this, excuse me, can I catch you again? Is this for the item number that's with the Southern Nevada Housing Authority?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else like to be heard during this portion? Get your name and address for the record, please. And what item that we're speaking on.
My name is David Gomez. I was about to speak on what you just mentioned, so I don't know if this is the actual portion for that.
No, it'll be opened up during the hearing, so there will be a public comment at that point that you can come up and speak during the application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to be heard? Okay, seeing no one, I will close this portion of the public hearing and move on to item number 5. Vice Chair, can we get a motion for the Planning Commission minutes of the March 12th meeting, please?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for approval for the Planning Commission meeting minutes of March 12th, 2024.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Okay, moving on to the housekeeping items. Are there any items that the commissioner, staff, applicants, or members of the public would like to pull forward for action? Nicole, did you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, staff has some housekeeping items.
Please.
First is the applicant is requesting to hold agenda item number 18, project number 23-0661 to the May 14th Planning Commission meeting, and this is the applicant's second request. The applicant is requesting to hold item number 31, project number 24-0072 to the May 14th Planning Commission meeting, and this is the applicant's first request. The applicant is requesting to hold agenda item number 35, project number 24-0081 to the May 14th Planning Commission meeting, and this is also the applicant's first request. And finally, the applicant is requesting to hold agenda item number 24, project number 24-0040 to the May 14th Planning Commission meeting, and this is the applicant's first request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak on any of these items that are requested for abeyance? Seeing no one, I will close this portion and go to Vice Chair for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to hold items 18, 31, 35, and 24. Motion for abeyance to the May 14th, 2024 meeting.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Okay. Before we move on to the one motion, one vote part of the agenda, I realize there's a lot of people here for item 31 that was just passed for abeyance. It will come back at the next meeting, and I would just say that there's an unprecedented amount of interest on the cards that have been sent in. The commission is looking at all of them and processing it, and when you come back, we need to get through a meeting, so we're looking for, are you for, if you're against, and very specific reasons. And I'm going to, not to want to cut anybody off, but just to not be repetitive on what everybody's saying. So there might be an instance where you come up and say, yes, I'm for it, and my name and address. So just wanted to throw that out there because we do want to run a smooth meeting when we come back on this item. So with that, I'm going to move on to the one motion I'm going to vote, and thanks for coming out, everyone that was here for that. The following items may be considered in one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items with a staff recommendation of approval. All public hearings and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. Item number 7, 230380 SUP, applicant MVB LLC, owner Arts Corner LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project for proposed 3,214 square foot alcohol on-premise full use with a 777 square foot outdoor patio at 1 East Charleston Boulevard, Suite 100. Staff recommends approval. Item number 8, 230516 SDR, applicant owner Los Caminos Del Vida Trust et al., for possible action on a land use entitlement project for proposed 2-story, 6-unit multifamily residential at 388 Maydale Place. Staff recommends approval. Item number 9, 230622 SUP1, applicant Dakin Vegan Sushi, the M. Lim LLC, owner WFM Partners LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project for a proposed 2,380 square foot alcohol on-premise beer wine use with a 305 square foot outdoor patio area at 7210 West Lake Mead Boulevard, Suite 1. Staff recommends approval. Item number 10, 230674 MOD1, applicant owner Century Communities of Nevada LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request to amend the Sky Canyon design guidelines to amend minimum building setback and maximum driveway slope standards for townhomes in the Sky R2 district at the northwest corner of Grand Teton Drive and Grand Canyon Drive, Ward 6. Staff recommends approval. Item number 11, 240053 SUP1, applicant 702 LV Market LLC, owner Arizona Charlie's LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project for a proposed open-air vending transient sales lot use at 740 South Decatur Boulevard, Ward 1. Staff recommends approval. Item number 12, 240059 SUP1, applicant Joseph Stamis, owner JPJM Family Trust, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for proposed residential accessory dwelling unit use at 2904 Justice Lane, Ward 1. Staff recommends approval. Item number 13, 240068 SUP1, applicant Helen Adams, owner Hellfire Media LLC, for possible action on a land use project for proposed astrologer, hypnotist, or psychic art and science use at 600 East Charleston Boulevard, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number 14, 240088 SUP1, applicant Amidio Pizza Italian Cafe, owner 1151 South Buffalo Drive LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for a proposed 1,459 square foot alcohol on-premise beer wine use at 1181 South Buffalo Drive, Suite 115. Staff recommends approval. Item number 15, 240091 VAC, applicant PN2 Inc., owner the Howard Hughes Company LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for a petition to vacate a portion of public right-of-way on Grand Park Boulevard, generally located between Sandstone Rise Drive and Red Point Drive, Ward 2. Staff recommends approval. And finally, number 16, 240111 SUP, applicant Nathan Hall, owner 1421 Main Street LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project for a proposed 5,690 square foot alcohol on-premise full use with a 468 square foot outdoor patio area at 1421 South Main Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. And before I open it up, I will disclose that on items number 17 and 16, I do own property within the notification area. It doesn't affect me any greater or lesser. Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Chairman, through you. On item number 7, we're under contract with the applicant on that particular project. And number 16, we're under contract with the landlord for that particular project for the ratio improvement. So I'll be abstaining on items number 7 and 16.
Thank you for the disclosure. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in these items? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and go to Vice Chair for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion for approval on the one motion, one vote, items 7 through 16.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chair, items 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, and 16 are final action unless appealed to the clerk in 10 days. Items 9, 10, 11, and 15 will move forward to City Council on May 15th, 2024.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on to the public hearing items of the agenda, starting with item number 17, abeyance 230653, applicant owner Yakoslav Weston for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request at the northeast corner of Vegas Drive and Michael Way. Staff recommends denial. Can we have the staff report, please? I'm sorry, Nicole. I need to read in 17A and B. I apologize. 17A, abeyance 230653 VAR 1 to allow 7 parking spaces where 8 are required, and 17B related abeyance 230653 SDR 1 for a proposed 2-story, 4-unit multifamily residential development with waivers of Title 1906 development standards. Thanks, Nicole.
Mr. Chairman, due to the requested waivers and exceptions for landscaping that do not support the master plan and a parking variance, staff is not able to support the proposed multifamily development and is recommending denial of both applications. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Nasko Balakchiev, 1025 South First Street, Suite 140, presenting on behalf of the applicant. This is the site located at 5410 Vegas Drive. It's the intersection of Vegas Drive and Michael Way. We're proposing a 2-story, 4-unit multifamily development. Each unit is approximately 1,000 square feet for a total of 4,000 square feet on the site. And we've designed a pretty exciting and interesting building that I think will add to the neighborhood and definitely improve that area a little bit. And working through the design, we've been asked to dedicate 10 feet along Michael Way for a future expansion of that public right-of-way, which has definitely constrained the site quite a bit. So we've been challenged to meet the parking requirements and also the landscaping requirements. So in trying to fit everything, we've asked for these waivers and variances. So along the eastern property line here, we're required to have 15 feet of landscape buffer for the upper northern part of the site, which is directly adjacent to a single-family residential use. So we're requesting a 0-foot landscape buffer over there, given that most of that is taken up by our driveway entrance as well as our trash enclosure and some of the utilities. But we're maintaining the landscape buffer along the building's frontage towards the south. And then along the western property line, we've requested a reduction from 5 feet to 3 feet to try and fit all the parking. And then along the northern side, we've requested a reduction from 6 feet to 3 feet for the landscape buffer. And as you can see, it is a tight site, so we try to fit as many parking spaces as possible, and we're asking for a reduction from 8 spaces to 7 spaces. Then these are just some views of what's existing at the moment, as well as what we've proposed. Again, it's an elegant modern building. We've designed it in accordance with some passive design strategies to minimize the energy use of the building. So you can see on the southern facade here, we've got deep overhangs to shade the glass and really minimize the cooling loads. And then along the east and west facades of the building, we have almost no windows to prevent direct solar gain through those facades. And also the structure of the building will be constructed from insulated concrete forms. So the insulation values of this building will significantly surpass that of your code minimum wood-framed insulation. And this is the elevation looking east. And then this is the southern elevation of the building. And this might be a little bit hard to see, but I've overlaid the site plan over what's existing right now, and you can see where the existing road is, and then this is the new proposed property line for that dedication along Michael Way. So we're losing a significant portion of the site that would otherwise be, parking or extra landscaping. So with that tight site, I think we've designed something that's respectful to the surrounding context and is a nice addition to this empty parcel.
Thank you for the presentation. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone like to be heard on item 17? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Sir, were you here for item 17? No, okay. I will close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission, going to Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you talk about the power poles and the moving of those and what the applicant intends to do with those as well? Because that was I think that was a pain point in the project at one time.
Of course. So you can see here on this existing site plan, my finger is pointing to 2 existing power poles that are currently located on the property. When we dedicate that 10 feet to Michael Way, those will be left in the public right-of-way. So in coordination with NV Energy, they're going to require the owner to move those onto his property. So that's a significant development expense as well, and it's something we're willing to deal with.
I don't have any other questions. I did take a trip out to visit the site. I think it's actually, 2 of the other adjacent corners. So the south, west, and southeast corners are also multi-unit. And then you've got, a Circle K across the street. So I think this enhances the dirt lot in the corner, and I can actually support this project. So unless there's other conversations or recommendations, I'm ready to make a motion. Please.
Thank you. I thank you for the presentation. I think it's a really pretty project, and it's great to see that kind of a development at this corner. I have one concern, and that is the landscape and the reduction. And I looked at the buffer. I understand what you're doing with the fact that you've got this right-of-way issue. But my concern is you're at like about a 20% reduction in trees that are required. And this is one of those areas that is very hot on the urban heat map. And I'm really committed to the city's master plan around urban forestry and around working to reduce urban heat mapping. And so, looking at this area for potential walkability, all of that. And I'm just wondering if there's any options to maybe add in a few more trees to try to get closer to that urban forestry requirement and that urban forestry commitment of the city, and that I think would benefit this area as well.
Sure. So let me bring up our site plan here. So we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I think it's
10,
a 12
11,
in the
12,
conditions.
13, 14 trees. So even though we're reducing the buffer along the west and the north, we're still providing the required number of trees there. And like I mentioned, that this building will be designed to a much higher standard than your code minimum in terms of energy use. So we're going to be using a very low albedo roof, and I think that the building will help reduce the energy use of this lot compared to just your standard, building. So we hope that these are minor asks, and along the south corner here, we're also heavily planting that to really transition the building into that sidewalk. So as you can see in this rendering here, there's quite a bit of landscape there to really soften the building, so it's not just a big block on the corner of the intersection there.
No, and it looks, again, it's a really nice architectural design. I think it's going to be a fantastic addition to that corner. I'm just, again, concerned because I'm looking at the conditions, and it says that basically there's not a single corner where you're hitting the tree threshold, and the requirement is 20 and you're at 12. So possibly another option to just sort of amp up that urban forestry is, and I don't know what you were going to put in, I don't have the landscape plan up, but maybe you could increase the size when you put them in. If instead of maybe 24-inch box, maybe you could consider 36-inch box to be able to get to that canopy more quickly. And I don't know if that's something you might consider for city council if it has to go, but that would be my request, and that's always my concern.
Okay.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Vice Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. So I would ask staff, is there a way to carve out an additional recommendation for 24 to 36-inch box trees condition? Can we carve out that condition, additional condition?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we can add a condition. That would be to 17B, 23-0653-SDR1, and the condition would read just to plant 36-inch box trees.
And do you agree to that updated condition?
Yeah, we agree.
Thank you. So I'd like to make a motion on item 23-0653-17A and B, motion for approval, subject to staff's conditions and the additional condition, and you do agree to all those.
We agree.
Great. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Mr. Chair, that item will move forward to the May 15th City Council meeting.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 19, abeyance 24003 VAR1, applicant owner Saeed Hossein Riza Zada Musavi for possible action on a land use entitlement project request to allow an existing 6-foot tall solid wall in the front yard where 5 feet with a 2 feet solid base is the maximum height allowed at 711 Campbell Drive. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this is Christian Gates, Planner 2 for the Department of Community Development for the record. The requested variance is the result of a code enforcement case which cited construction of a wall without permits at the subject property. If approved, building permits must be obtained for the wall. Staff finds that no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by allowing an existing, unpermitted, and non-compliant front yard wall to remain on the property where the removal or modifications of the wall within required height limitations would allow conformance to the Archive Title 19 requirements. Therefore, staff recommends denial of this variance request. If approved, the variance will be subject to conditions. Please note, an additional letter of protest has been submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening. My name is Saeed Hossein Reza Musavi, 711 Campbell Drive.
Thank you.
Excuse me, can you please have him spell that?
Yeah, could you spell the name, please?
SEYEDHOSEIN REZA. Okay. So, I had the opportunity to have Mr. Commissioner Rogan at my property, and he gave me some advice, and we are moving the walls like 6 foot back on Palomino, and also we're adding slats between the 2 gates that I have on Campbell. And if,
okay,
do you have the pictures? Like I have the drawing here.
You have it on the overhead?
Yes.
Okay. We can see the overhead now.
So yeah, in this area we will add slats to have the visibility, and we will move the walls 6 foot from here back. That's what we're planning to do.
Okay. Anything else you want to add before we go to public hearing?
No.
No.
That's it.
Thank you. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing, and I will go to Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, this has been over a year, and I think we finally got something moving on this after I've fully understood what the application was and what the code is. This is kind of a unique property because it's again, its front door is on Campbell, but the frontage is actually a dual frontage on Palomino and Arabian. And traditionally, there's been, before this gentleman purchased the property, it was, they didn't have a fence. So we've worked it out, and I have some added conditions that Ms. Eddowes helped me with, and so if we could just read those in so that we're all clear on what the conditions are.
Mr. Chairman, through you, those conditions will be added to number 1924-0003-VAR1. I'm sorry, that is 19, yes, 19. Added condition number 1 will read, the wall adjacent to Palomino Lane shall be relocated north to align with post number 2 and number 31 as indicated on the site plan. Condition number 2, the portion of the wall adjacent to Campbell Drive shall be 6 feet tall with a 3-foot solid base from post number 34 to post number 49 indicated on the site plan. And condition number 3, will read, "Landscaping such as bay laurel or a similar plant shall be planted adjacent to Palomino Drive from post number 3 to post number 34 and adjacent to Campbell Drive from post number 49 to post number 63 as indicated on the site plan, subject to a license agreement." Thank you.
So, sir, do you agree to those conditions? They're the ones that we discussed in person the other day.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. All right. Unless there's any other comments from the commission, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
All right. With regard to agenda item 19, project number 24-0003 VAR1, make a motion for approval subject to staff's conditions and the added conditions read into the record this evening.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Taylor, is that a yes? I mean, Commissioner Kasama, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action unless appealed to the clerk in 10 days.
Okay, moving on to item number 20, abeyance 240021 VAR1, applicant owner the Perry C. Rogers and Nicole P. Rogers Family Trust for possible action on a land use entitlement project to allow a proposed residential accessory structure and patio cover to be placed in the front yard setback where such is not allowed, and to allow a 10-foot side yard setback where 15 is required for proposed patio cover at 3000 Arabian Road. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry. Let's see.
Mr. Chairman, previously the Board of Zoning Adjustment approved the variance for a residential accessory structure, which allowed the structure to encroach into the front and side yard setback areas. This residential accessory structure has since been demolished through an issued and finalized demolition permit. Now the applicant is requesting to place a new residential accessory structure, casita, and patio cover in place of the demolished structure. Per the submitted justification letter, the applicant intends to utilize the casita for extended family to occupy during the holidays. However, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented to warrant the requested variance. As such, the hardship is self-imposed and staff recommends denial of the requested variance. If approved, the variance will be subject to conditions. Please note, an additional letter of protest has been submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Hit your name and address for the record, please.
Dale Amos, 6338 West Desert Road, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89146. I am the general contractor.
Nicole Rogers, 3000 Arabian Road, 89107.
Thank you. Can you tell us about the application, please?
Yeah, like was stated, there was a garage, or variance for a garage originally in the spot, and then the Perrys want to build a guest home in that location at the end of Arabian Drive.
Okay. All right. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and turn it over to Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you. This is a structure that's replacing a structure that was already there and already had a variance. It's on Arabian Road, which is a private street that I didn't even know existed, and now I want to live on. So with that, unless there's other comments, I make a motion for approval of agenda item 20, project 24-0021 VAR1, subject to all conditions, and you agree to those conditions?
We do.
All right, thank you.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this item is final action unless appealed to the clerk in 10 days.
Thank you. Item number 21, 230558 VAR1, applicant owner Kamiki Carr for possible action on a land use entitlement project to allow 3-foot side yard setback where 5 feet is required for an existing addition to a single-family dwelling at 5613 Evergreen Avenue, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the requested variance is a result of an open code enforcement case. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by constructing a building addition that does not meet side yard setback requirements. Constructing the building addition as shown on previously issued building permits approved in March 24th to 22 would allow conformance to Title 19 requirements. Therefore, it is concluded that the applicant's hardship is preferential in nature, and for these reasons, staff is recommending denial of this variance request. If approved, the variance will be subject to conditions. Please note, additional letters of support have been submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Larry Sanchez, 7844 Sorenbrook Street, representing the homeowner.
Thank you. Would you like to tell us about the application? Would you like to tell us about the application?
Yeah, so we're here to see if we can get a approval on a variance for a 3-foot setback where 5 is required. We have some letters of support from the adjacent neighbor right next to the storage unit, and I believe a couple more across the street behind. And let me present you the homeowner.
Okay. Just need your name and address for the record, please.
Kamika Carr, 5613 Evergreen Ave, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89107.
Thanks. What would you like to add? Would you like to add anything?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, and thanks for turning that in for the record. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you. I did not meet with the homeowner on this one, but I did drive by. It's a nice-looking house. It's well done. It's a minor variance requested, and I'm glad that you brought approval from the neighbors. That's what I look for. It's what we look for. And so if there's any other comment, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
It's a motion for approval on agenda item 21, project number 23-0558 VAR1. It's a motion for approval subject to all staff's conditions, and folks, you agree to those conditions, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, and that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, those items will our final action unless appealed to the clerk in 10 days.
Okay, moving on to item number 22. 230643 SDR1, applicant KFC, owner Pre-Rancho Craig LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project for proposed 2,650 square foot restaurant with drive-through development with a 400 square foot outdoor patio area located on the east side of Rancho Drive, approximately 620 feet south of Craig Road. Staff recommends approval. Can I get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed restaurant with drive-through is compatible with adjacent development in the area and fully meets the minimum development standards of Title 19. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the requested site development plan review, subject to conditions. Please note, additional letters of support have been submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening, Laura Drea, 520 South 4th Street, here on behalf of the applicant, which is a KFC franchisee. The site is part of a commercial subdivision that was created for standalone businesses. The initial parcel map and rezone intended for a series of businesses along the perimeter of the residential parcel. The KFC restaurant comes to you with a recommendation for approval as it meets all codes and exceeds several. For example, the design goes further to ensure the drive-through doesn't cause congestions, as we sometimes see in commercial centers. In addition, code requires a 6 vehicle stacking zone, and we have 8. And then the design goes further and shows the stacking can go around to this parking aisle, which is composed exclusively of excess spaces that are provided in addition to this row of parking spaces. Other examples is that the layout orients the squawk box towards Rancho Drive and opposite of the residential development to the north. The squawk box is also separated from the residential by the building itself. The plan also exceeds residential proximity placement and tree count requirements. I respect that this proposal is a good fit for what the space was intended for, and it's consistent with nearby development patterns. This board might remember that just in February, a similar layout for Chipotle was approved on the nearest parcel to the north. So this comes to you with staff's approval and or with staff's favorable recommendation, and we ask for your approval as well.
Thank you very much. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will turn it over to the commission. Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it is nice to see the continued development of this unique piece of land, right, triangular in nature. I don't have any issues, and I'm actually ready to make a motion in agreement with staff's recommendation.
Please do.
I'd like to make a motion for approval on item 23-0643 SDR1, subject to staff's conditions, and you do agree with all the staff's conditions?
Yes.
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that is final action unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 230671 VAR, applicant Veronica Mendez Brown, owner Stephen T. Brown and Veronica R. Brown, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request to allow an existing 16-foot tall residential accessory structure, detached carport, to exceed the height of the principal dwelling unit where such is not allowed, a 0-foot side yard setback where 3 feet is required, a 0-foot separation from the principal dwelling where 6 feet is required, to not be aesthetically compatible with the principal dwelling unit where such is required, a total accessory structure size of 53% of the principal dwelling floor area where 50% is the maximum allowed, and a lot coverage of 52% where 50% is the maximum allowed at 5308 Rebecca Road, Ward 6. Staff recommends denial. Could we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the requested variance is a result of an open code enforcement case. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, in that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by constructing a residential accessory structure, detached carport, without a permit that fails to comply with Title 19 requirements. As the applicant's hardship is preferential in nature, staff recommends denial of the requested variance. If approved, it will be subject to conditions. Please note, additional letters of protest and support have been submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Larry Sanchez, 7844 Storenbrook Street, representing the owner.
Thank you, Larry.
We're here asking for staff for approval on a side setback. Side setback is 5 feet where we're at a close to zero lot line. We have a carport. Unfortunately, we don't have the room on the other side of the property to put this, and we have letters from the adjacent neighbor to the left, as well as various other letters from the neighborhood for support.
Would you like to turn those letters in for the record? That'd be great if we could collect those, please. Okay, this was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public want to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and go to Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for coming down and talking about the carport. I would call it more of an RV port. It's pretty tall because you're looking for the variance related to the height as well, correct?
Yeah, not exceeding the actual height, the maximum height of the house, of the roof of the house.
So I just have a couple of questions. I drove around, well, I had a chance to come and look at the property. I had a chance to speak with the owner. I understand there was kind of a lot involved in the construction of this item, of this structure. And tell me again, it's 5 feet from the back wall?
Correct, it's at 5 feet, possibly a little more from the back.
All right, so.
From the rear setback, from the rear wall.
Right, I understand. And one of the concerns is, again, the aesthetics of it and the fact that, you know, whether or not it's harmonious and compatible and aesthetically compatible with the neighborhood. I drove around and it seems like a lot of folks have these similar structures throughout this subdivision. Maybe not right there immediately on your street, but certainly really close by. The one opposition that I'm concerned about, because there were a couple of oppositions submitted, but they seem to be folks that are pretty far removed from the lot. But the one I'm concerned about is immediately, not immediately behind, but behind and closer to Hammer. And they indicated that it abuts the wall in the backyard, that it's higher than the wall, that it impinges their view, which is not something that you're guaranteed to have in Las Vegas. But I'm wondering, it looks to me, and I don't know if you can tell me, if your kitty corner backyard neighbor, if that's actually a shed that they have abutting their wall as well. I'm looking at the aerial. I'm looking at an aerial. You can't necessarily see the aerial. But
Would it be this one you're talking about?
is that the rear?
No.
Yeah.
This is the rear.
So this right here would be the rear property line. This is the 5-foot setback.
Okay.
This is the one, I believe, on Hammer, and then this is the adjacent homeowner to the
Is that
to the
on,
left.
on Bayou Court?
That would be this guy, and that's his patio cover on our block wall.
I'm so sorry, I didn't hear.
It's his patio cover on our block wall.
Okay.
Can I get your name and address for the record too, please? Thanks.
Veronica Brown,
Thank you.
5308 Rebecca Road, Las Vegas, 89160.
Thank you.
Is there any possibility of maybe putting some type of mitigating landscaping in that 5-foot space, just to maybe obviate that argument that it's obstructing their view from that corner?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
It does staff, Ms. Eddowes, do you have any sort of recommendations what might be good to include as a condition for the, to put some landscaping in there that might kind of obscure the view a little bit, since that was the concern of this homeowner?
Mr. Chairman, through you, we can add a condition, something to the effect of landscaping shall be added to the northeast corner of the property to screen the RV cover. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, and just allow, as long as it has some flexibility, so the homeowner's not constricted by certain plants or amount of coverage, just to be able to put something in that is reasonable for the 5-foot space, that's not going to cause additional damage on any of her wall or the adjacent walls, but then at least there's a little bit of coverage there, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, through you, I wouldn't recommend putting a tree that close to the wall, maybe a shrub to that effect.
Yeah.
We don't, it's concrete back there on the ground, because it was an old pad, there's like a foot of concrete right against the wall, but I can do like lattice with vines, like the big lattice boards that would go all the way across.
Would that create another code issue if she put lattice with vines against the wall?
Yeah, I would hesitate on that
Yeah.
And I
one.
could put potted plants. I can't plant anything back there because there's like a
I mean,
concrete
maybe you could put some
footing.
potted plants on the concrete and run some,
That would be
drip.
helpful for us because we actually look into his yard instead of him looking into ours, so it would be good for us too.
Okay. Yeah, so if that's okay and it's not permanent landscaping and it's okay, then if you can just describe it as landscaping to provide some coverage for the condition.
We can create, if you wanted to add something to the effect of a potted plant.
Yeah, something like that.
To help screen.
Okay.
Commissioner, do you feel like you need more time on this application to get it designed, or do you think we're there?
Why don't we, I hate to make you come back down in 30 days. Is this something that we can just kind of like craft up real quick and trail it, and then we can take a vote?
Yeah, just so we can keep everything going. I don't want to keep designing at the
I
podium.
understand, yeah. Okay.
In all fairness to everybody.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
thank you,
okay.
Chair.
All right, so we'll call you back up. We're going to trail this for a little bit. Thank you. And Nicole, you'll work on a condition for something? No. That's up. All right, moving on to Item 24040, applicant owner Melissa Kosher and Jonathan Margalit. For possible action,
Mr. Chair, we move that one to next month.
for 24?
Yes.
Oh, that was the one that was added. My apologies. Thank you for that, Commissioner Rogan. Item 24043, VIR1, applicant owner Jamie Guerrera and Serena Gamera.
Did you guys jump 24 on me?
24 was held in abeyance. It was voted to be held in abeyance at the beginning of the meeting.
Good evening. My name is Jaime Gamari.
Jaime, let me just read the rest in, please. For possible action on a land use entitlement project to allow a 0-foot side yard setback where 3 feet is required for an existing residential accessory structure, to allow a 1-foot side yard setback where 3 feet is required for an existing residential accessory structure, to allow a 5-foot separation from the primary dwelling where 6 feet is required for an existing residential accessory structure, and to allow an existing residential accessory structures to not be aesthetically compatible with the primary dwelling where such is required at 6624 Budnick Circle. Can we get, staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance related to the physical characteristics of the property has been presented to warrant the requested variance. Staff finds the hardship is self-imposed and recommends denial of the variance. Please note additional letters of support and protest were received since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and addresses for the record, please?
Yes, my first name is Jaime Gamari. First Jaime, last name is Gamari, 6224 Budnick Circle.
Thank you, Jaime.
Serena Gamari, 6224 Budnick Circle.
Thank you, Serena. This was noticed as a public hearing. Excuse me. Please speak on your application. I apologize. I'm off.
We're applying for a variance for a carport and a casita. The casita is used as an office because I work from home, and the carport is to shade structure for a pop-up that we have. We do have a letter. I went around the whole neighborhood, and I got signatures from 13 of the 14 residents that are along Budnick Circle that support this. And
Jaime, do you have that with you, the letter?
Yes, I do. I have it here.
And you'll be able to turn it in for the record?
Yes.
That would be great. Thank you.
The casita was there when we bought the house almost 20 years ago. We inherited that from the previous owners. The carpet was added later on, about 8 years ago.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to add to the application?
No, we used that casita because we had to move in my disabled veteran father so we could care for him. So that space is helpful for us so we can have office space.
Yeah, and we have 4 children too.
Right.
So
We're a full house.
Full house.
I understand that. Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and go to Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Understanding that the applicant has also worked with they're working with the SHIFT program to help to figure out how to clean things up. If it's okay with the applicant, Mr. and Mrs. Gamari, I'd really like to obey this item till the May meeting so I have a chance to come out and really walk through and understand the challenges and the solutions, because regardless of what we think, these are still potentially code issues, and so you're still going to have to go through building, the process, get permits, and I know SHIFT will help with all that. But I'd actually like to push this item to the May meeting so we can get together.
Understood.
So on item 24-0043 VAR1, I'd like to make a motion to obey this item to the May 14th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor for an abeyance. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this item will go to City Council on,
Obeyed to the next meeting, yeah.
Okay, so we're on,
Okay. question for staff, are we good for 23 and a condition coming back? Or do you want to trail it a little more?
Yeah, just give us a few more minutes to
Okay,
figure that
no
out.
problem.
For
Yep.
sure, yeah.
Okay. Going on to item number 26, 240102 GPA applicant, City of Las Vegas, owner Cardia Properties LLC, for possible action on land use entitlement project to request from TOD2 to H, located on the south side of Harris Avenue between Lily Lane and Effinger Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Steve Swanton, Community Development. The city is bringing forward this request in conjunction with the next item for a senior citizen apartments affordable housing development. A key priority for the East Las Vegas area of the city is to redevelop substandard housing stock with affordable, high-quality housing. The proposed amendment will conform to the goals of the Las Vegas 2050 Master Plan and will allow the density necessary for construction of a quality, affordable housing development. In addition, the zoning districts allowed by this amendment are compatible with the existing surrounding zoning districts. Staff therefore recommends approval. Please note there were additional documents of support received after publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will close it and go to Commissioner Schlotman.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions about this. It's appropriate for the area, and if there's no other comments, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
On item 26, 24-0102 GPA1, I move to approve, subject to staff's conditions.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item will be heard at the May 15th City Council meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 27, 240049 applicant George Dukakis, Inc., owner Cardia Properties LLC, for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request located on the south side of Harris Avenue between Lily Lane and Effinger Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Related item 27A, 240049 VAR1, to allow a proposed 10-foot tall front yard wall where 5 feet with a 2-foot solid base is the maximum height allowed, to allow a proposed 10-foot perimeter wall where 8 feet is the maximum height allowed, and to allow a 0% contrasting material where 20% is required. Related item 27B, 240049 SDR1, for proposed 4-story, 60-unit senior citizen apartment development with waivers of residential adjacency and perimeter landscape buffer requirements. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the staff finds the requested waiver of residential adjacency standards to be appropriate, as it will allow the viability of an affordable housing development and represents a less than 10% deviation from the setback requirement. Staff also finds the wall variance to be minor, as this will allow for the proposed walls to be compatible with existing walls to the south of the site. Likewise, the requested landscape waivers will not negatively affect the site or the surrounding area. The proposed senior citizen apartments development will provide additional affordable housing options in this area and could be compatible with the existing adjacent residential and school developments. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the requested variance and site development plan review, subject to conditions. Please note there were additional documents of support received after publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
George Dukakis, 2655 South Rainbow Boulevard, Suite 401, Las Vegas.
Thank you, George. Would you like to tell us about the application?
This is the fourth phase of a 28-year-old development. It started in 1996, and the second phase was developed in 2008, and the third phase was developed in 2009, and this is the last and final phase. It's an existing infill piece as of date, and we're going to continue with the same architectural design and the wall design that's currently in place. Looking forward to it. We did have a neighborhood meeting. Neighbors are very enthusiastic about this piece being developed. It will be built higher than LEED gold standards.
Okay. Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close it and turn it over to Commissioner Schlotman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Jakakis, just one question for you. Could you explain the fences just a little bit better so I could have a clearer understanding? You currently have a fence and we're matching that existing fence, is that it?
Right, that's the reason we are not complying with the new code that's in place. We started out with the code back in 1996. It was block wall with a stucco face, and currently the existing property is on 6 to 8 acres, and this last infill piece is 1.49 acres. It would just look out of place, so we want to continue with the existing wall design.
And is that just on the south portion of the site, or is that
It's
front and
going to
on?
be on 3 sides. It'll be on the east and west and the north. And the north will be, that faces Harris Street, will be decorative. It will on the top 2 feet, will be decorative iron on the wall.
Okay. All right. Well, I have no additional questions. If nobody else does, Mr. Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
All right. On item 27, 24-0049, 27A, and 27B, move to approve, subject to staff's conditions, and you agree to all
I
staff's
accept those conditions, yes.
Thank you.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that item will go to City Council on May 15th, 2024.
Thank you. Commissioner Taylor, I'm going to bring back item number 23, if that's okay with you. Okay. The applicant for item 23, if you could please come back up. Okay, this has been read into the record, and I believe a condition has been crafted, is my understanding.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. If staff could help out and just read in the new condition that was crafted.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you, that added condition will read, coordinate with the Department of Community Development at the time of permitting to establish landscape screening for the northeast corner of the property. Thank you.
And do you agree with the condition?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
And any of the other conditions that are in the staff report.
Yeah, all conditions in the staff report.
Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for waiting so we could get that crafted. And with that, I'd like to make a motion on item 230671 to approve the requested variance on that property.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Excuse me, that's subject to amended conditions.
And
Subject to
all
amended
conditions, yes.
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, and that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you very much. I don't know if they heard the approval, but it was approved. All right, moving back to item number 28, 240061 VAR 1, applicant Brock Olson, owner 6060 Eldon Avenue LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project to allow 2 proposed signs on the eastern elevation where 1 sign is allowed, and to allow a 19% coverage of the eastern tenant space elevation where 10% is the maximum allowed at 6060 Eldon Avenue. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, as no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance relating to the physical characteristics of the property has been presented to warrant the requested variance, staff finds the hardship to be self-imposed and recommends denial of the variance subject to conditions. Please note there were additional documents of protest received after publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Zach Steffen, Vision Signs, 6630 Arroyo Springs Street, Suite 600, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89113.
Thank you, Zach. Can you tell us about the application?
We are requesting a variance to remove the signs that are on the north elevation here and are currently being blocked by a carport and a mature tree, to be reinstalled on the east elevation so that clients may properly identify the building from Jones.
Okay. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and go to Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I met with the applicant, Brock Olson, and just for a brief disclosure, Mr. Olson's an attorney. He and my wife are in the same industry. I've known him professionally for years, but the relationship doesn't extend beyond that. So I think it's a circumstance where I'm comfortable disclosing, but I don't feel the need to abstain from this matter.
Thank you.
This is a sign that was on the north wall of the property facing 95. Several years ago, we granted a variance to allow this same sign on that north wall. He's simply relocating that to face Jones from the north wall. Given that we approved it back in 2018, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't approve it simply because we're moving it from the north wall to the east wall. It's the same sign, same issues that we had back then. Although I don't think that this should ever be used as precedent for any other signs on that street to have such a gigantic sign. With that, I just have one question for staff. I didn't see it in the report and I should have asked beforehand. Does this, since he no longer has the sign on the north wall, does this expunge that existing entitlement, or would it remain?
No, once that sign was removed, it's expunged.
Okay, great. I just want that record to be clear. Thank you very much for that. And with that, unless anyone else has any comments on this one, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
Motion for approval, agenda item 28, project 24-0061, VAR1. Sir, you agree to all staff's conditions on behalf of your client?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, is the motion on the floor?
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action unless appealed to the city clerk within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 29, 240067, applicant Michaels Development Company, 1 LP, owner Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority. For possible action on the following land use entitlement project requests on the southeast corner of Duncan Drive and Edward Avenue, Ward 5, staff recommends approval. 29A, 240067 GPA 1 from DR to M. 29, related item number 29B, 240067 ZON 1 from RE to R3. And related item 29C, 240067 SDR 1 for a proposed two-story 80-unit multifamily residential development with waivers of the residential adjacency and perimeter landscape buffer requirements. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds that the density allowed by the proposed amendment to the M designation would be compatible with the existing land uses on adjacent properties, and rezoning to R3 would be compatible with the adjacent zoning districts. The Las Vegas 2050 Master Plan advises greater diversity of housing options for multiple income levels and supports the development of quality affordable housing in infill areas such as this site. The proposed development is designed in a manner that is compatible with the existing single-family residential developments adjacent to the south and west. Staff supports the requested waivers for residential adjacency and perimeter landscaping, finding them not to have a negative impact on the surrounding properties. Staff therefore recommends approval of the general plan amendment, rezoning, and site development plan review, subject to conditions. Please note there were additional documents of protest received after publication. Thank you.
Thank you. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Bob Gronauer, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. I'm here representing the applicant on these pending matters that are before you. The first thing I'd like to do is orient you to the property that is we're asking for these entitlements. As you can see here, it's highlighted in yellow under site. This piece of property is approximately 5 acres. It is on the corner of, this is the Duncan alignment, and this is Edwards alignment here, and further down here is Gowan, and you have Rancho Drive located here as I'm showing you. This is an infill, classic infill piece of property. Everything around here is already developed. More importantly, you have some single-family homes to the west and to the south. We have multifamily already approved and existing here, which is to the east, and also some multifamily up here to the north. So this request is for a general plan amendment. We're asking for medium density. Your staff is recommending approval. As they have indicated in the staff report, this is a type of application where you have some diversity of housing that we are proposing here. This acts as a great buffer to the higher density over here to the east and north and off the Rancho corridor in this area. That is why staff is recommending approval for the general plan amendment to medium. With respect to the R3 zone change, that allows up to 25 units to the acre. Staff is recommending approval of that. But what's important about the R3 zone change, why this is most appropriate here on this application, is because, as you know, under R3, you could build up to 25 units an acre. What we're proposing here is only up to approximately 16 units an acre. So we're not looking to maximize the site. If anything, we would be able to build, I believe, about 51 more units on this property under the R3 zoning. We are not doing that. So what we're proposing is 80 units, okay? These are going to be 80 units that are going to be walk-in flats and apartments that we are actually proposing. Next is the site plan. Staff is recommending approval of our site plan and our waivers, and I'll go through a few things here. We have a couple buildings, as you see here, laid out on the property. Ingress and egress is going to be out here on Edwards. We have some access also over here off of Duncan. This site plan here is heavily landscaped and planned with open space. As a matter of fact, we exceed the open space requirements by almost 23,000 square feet more of open space than what the code is requiring. The waivers that we're asking for, we have a waiver along the east property line here on Edwards that staff is supporting. We actually are providing 10 feet of landscaping in this area, but because of our wrought iron fencing that we have located here, that we put that in the middle of the 10 feet, so that's why staff is saying we have 5 feet. We believe that having the wrought iron fencing in between the sidewalks and the public right-of-way there, it opens that area up more instead of just having 10 feet and a wrought iron fencing right up adjacent to our sidewalk internally. So staff's recommending approval of that. The next thing is where they're recommending approval is on the residential adjacency standards, which is we do have single-family homes located here. There are some neighbors here, I believe, in opposition. They're in opposition at our neighborhood meeting. They have more concerns than just the residential adjacency standards, but I do want to touch on this as I'm going through the presentation. So what we're asking for the residential adjacency standards, we have building 1, 2, and 3 actually encroach within that residential adjacency area. But what I want to point out, which I think is very minimal type of intrusion, is in building 1, this location here has 0 balconies, 0 windows facing out in this direction. This building here is a clubhouse. We're allowed by code to have that within that distance because that's a single-story clubhouse. And I should point out, and I'll show you on the elevations, we're only coming in with 24.5-foot elevations in height, okay? Typically, we go up to at least 55 feet in R3 zoning. These are 2-story buildings, so this is 24.5 feet, so we're not doing a typical 3- or 4-story garden style type of development. Clubhouse is single-story. So what I do want to point here is on building number 2. We do have 2 balconies up on top that actually face to the south as I'm having this conversation right now. However, based off the conversations that we had at the neighborhood meeting, one of the things that we are able to do, and this is just a slight change, is we can rotate this building too, so you can have then the east-west, the balconies will go east-west and not facing south in this area. Again, by doing that, that alleviates any concern that somebody may be peeking into what is down to the south of this property here. And then finally, again, this is the side of the building here that would be encroaching. Again, it's 24.5 feet in this area. To give you some line of sight visions here, and I'll walk you through this fairly quickly. This is the first building that I showed you that would be the closest. We have some landscaping, sidewalk landscaping, and then we're providing an 8-foot-high block wall, okay, along that south property line. That second building that I told you we're oriented to the east-west is, again, we have landscaping, we have the parking area with a cover on that, and then we have some more landscaping, and then we have our 8-foot wall, and then you get to the rear of the closest house is about 242 feet in this area from that building. And then finally, on our building 3 that I mentioned, that is the longer building on the side that has nothing, no balconies facing or windows. You do have landscaping, you have a drive aisle, you have the parking area, you have more landscaping, and you have the 8-foot block wall. And then in this direction here, you have already an existing structure on the other side. But by the time you get from our building to the rear of the house of the existing in there, that's about 261 feet. To zoom in a little bit more, this gives you now the reality of what you see on an overhead with respect to the map to what we're planning. A lot of the distance from these buildings here to the rear of the houses are in excess. Generally, these over here are well over 200 feet. As you can see, there are some structures in here in this area if anybody were to look into this area to the south. But I think the most important thing is, as I go back a step or two here, is by us rotating this building 2 to face east and west for the balconies, you have 0 now eyeballs on the southern type of property, on the southern side of the property. Because of that, we've asked you to follow staff's recommendation for approval. There were a couple other concerns from the neighbors that you'll hear. Is there some crime concerns in the area with some of the multifamily to the east and north. My client, who's here from Michael's Development Company, has reached out to the property owners of those apartments that are existing in this area. We want to be a good corporate citizen, so we could work with them on any type of issues that the neighbors have mentioned that are out in that area. And the last thing what you'll hear tonight is about property values going down by the fact that we're actually going to come in and build in this area. We respectfully disagree with that argument there. As you know, there are plenty and many white papers out there that we can give you and that are out there that show that when you have developments such as like this, and mind you, this is a $30 million investment that we are putting into this area, property values actually will go up in this area. So, and then the last thing is I wanted to show you on the elevations. These are beautiful 2-story modern elevations. As I said, if anything here, 24.5 feet in height. And just giving you just for some context here as far as what the elevations will look like. So to sum everything up in the presentation is your staff is recommending approval for the general plan amendment, the zone change, and the waivers that we're asking for. We're okay rotating building number 2, as I showed you on the site plan, to make sure that the east-west goes for the balconies are east and west. And the one thing I do want to mention about on the south side of our property line here, we did add additional landscaping, and staff has noted that in the write-up. Along the south property line here, we wanted to make sure we ensured we added more trees than what the requirement is. And so we wanted to make sure we buffered that than what is, as I said, in excess of the requirement. So that being said, I'd ask you to approve the application subject to staff's recommendations, and I'm here to answer additional questions after the neighbors are here to make their comments.
Thank you very much. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? If so, come up to the podium. We have 3 microphones. I'll need your name, address, and if you're for or against, and I'll give each person 2 minutes. And just don't want to be repetitive on the comments, but thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Lori Bateman, 5904 West Gowan Road. I'm highly against this. I respectfully request you deny all of these requests. We are zoned rural, single family. We would like to keep this rural, single family. Building community is home buyers. Apartment dwellers do not build community. They have no ties to the community. They can pack up and leave and move anytime they want. The apartments directly adjacent from this property that they're wanting to build on. The crime is so bad. Now, at one point, these apartments were very beautiful. They were built, they were nice. But as most apartments go, through time, the crime becomes even more rampant. And it's been proven in the past, apartment buildings bring down the property values. We would like to keep our residential, rural, single family. I don't have a problem with being built on that property. Build single family homes to help get people into them. I don't have a problem with low income either. We've all been low income at one time. But this is our homes. We've been there. We want to keep them that way. And turning buildings doesn't, I don't care, doesn't change anything. they will still be looking over. One building will still be able to look into our properties. We have had problems with people coming over in the past once those apartments were built into our properties. Now they're going to be right up on our back door. We respectfully request you deny all 3 of these requests.
Thank you for coming out. Can I get your name and address for the record, sir?
Robert Bateman, 5904 Gowan Road. I oppose this whole thing. In the past, they've tried 45 units, denied. They tried a 60-unit, denied. It seems like there's a full court press going on here to get this 80-unit in here by changing adjacencies and buffer zones, which he's claiming he's got that all covered. Sounds like smoke and mirrors to me. I'm not happy with the crime that we're already experiencing. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Anyone else like to be heard in this item? See one more person. If there's anybody else, we have 3 microphones. Please come on up. I'll need your name, address, for the record if you're for or against.
Good evening. My name is Maurice Page, MAURICE PAGE 1847 Moonglow Peak 89084, and I am in favor of this proposal. I am also the executive director of the Nevada Housing Coalition, and we would like to support this motion for this development, as we feel like there is a need for more affordable housing. As you all well know, the National Coalition of Low-Income Housing has just come out and said that we are in need of 90,000 homes in the state of Nevada for additional. And when we have individuals and families that move here, they are stuck with being overpriced and kicked out of their homes because they cannot afford it as it is. So with this unit, they are proposing that they will have area median incomes of at 30, 60, 80%, with an average range of 60%. And I believe that this will be a great opportunity for our individuals and our families to get kickstarted and be able to have stable housing moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Maurice. Can I get your name and address for the record, whoever would like to go first?
Yes, Ariel Edwards, Director of Government Relations for Nevada HAND, ARIELLEEDWARDS.
Thank you.
So good evening, members of the City of Las Vegas Planning Commission. I stand before you today to voice our strong support for the general plan amendment and rezoning for the Duncan and Edwards project. This vital project will introduce 80 affordable two-story flats on a 5+ acre parcel situated at the junction of West Duncan Drive and North Edwards Avenue in Las Vegas. It's important to highlight that research consistently supports the value that low-income housing tax credit or LIHTC housing projects bring to communities. It often boast of maintaining the value of neighboring properties. And so by endorsing this project, we're not only endorsing homes, we're endorsing a thriving and vibrant community in Las Vegas. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. We support this agenda item.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record?
Eve Williams, EVEWILLIAMS, address 5365 Oxbow Street, 89119. I'm here to speak in support of this project. I am I'm a pastor, Reverend Eve Williams. I should have said that as part of my name. Apologize. I represent Advent United Methodist Church, which is across Rancho and just a little bit south, Rancho and Jay, where we are preparing to break ground on our own affordable housing project, 50 units of affordable housing, which this group has approved, which we're very grateful for. Thank you. So I want to speak as one of the neighbors because this is something that obviously has been stated multiple times. Such a deep need in our community as the church has seen, and so we are addressing it with our own efforts. It'll be nice to have the neighbors for one thing. Also, I wanted to just on a personal note, wanted to say that, as far as affordable housing is needed, we know that anywhere from like educators and teachers and city workers and all kinds of folks. I'd like to add clergy to that list. Clergy, we don't make a lot of money, and so I'm very grateful to be in a position where I don't have to deal with it, but I know a lot of my colleagues also struggle with affordable housing. So as far as those that will be needing this, possibly this project, possibly the one at Advent, wherever it is, these are just some of the people that I put out there, and I want to add clergy to that list. Us pastors need someplace to live too. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and allow the applicant to make a couple comments if they like.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think I need to say anything else at the moment. Unless there are some questions, I'll be here to answer.
Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chair. But before I do, I just had one quick question for the applicant. Does the owner self-manage their properties?
Yeah, so the applicant is Michael's Development Company. Their corporate office is in New Jersey. They have over 70,000 units that they manage throughout the United States. They've been in business for over 50 years. They've received many awards and accolades for being in affordable housing. They've done military housing and student housing, market rate housing. So this is a great partner for the Housing Authority to have. So they will be managing this. And as I mentioned, this is a little new twist. This isn't a garden-style walk-up. This is more of your flat coming in or your loft where you're coming in a front door, more of a home type of a feel than coming into climbing the stairs on the outside. So very excited. A lot of money is being put into this project, and it's not being maxed out. It's as I said, it's 16 units an acre. This is a perfect location and development for this property.
Thank you. That answered my question. Commissioner Taylor, did you have a question before I go to the Vice Chair?
I just had two quick ones,
Please.
if that's okay. Thank you. On that south border, Mr. Gronauer, I do see you've got a lot of landscaping, but I was trying to figure out if those were your 24-inch box or your 36-inch box trees on that south border.
24-inch per code. And then what we did is we added more trees in there so we get to make sure the canopy that's in there, that we're going to cover everything going across.
Okay, and I don't know if it's again something you might consider to put in those bigger trees from the get-go, and maybe that would obviate some of the neighbors' concerns about having folks like right up against their backyards. And I'll just put that out there for Commissioner Williams to consider, or for you to consider going forward to City Council. And then my other question is related to, again, that self-management. Is that a model that you've seen have better results in terms of upkeep of the property and maintaining the quality of the property? And just, I wanted to start off by saying thank you so much for bringing this project forward. Those workforce housing opportunities are so important as we've seen housing prices just skyrocket. So thank you so much for bringing this project forward. But I wanted to just have you talk a little bit about how that self-management addresses some of those concerns about apartments.
Yeah, what you'll have here is that, as I said, is this isn't your, even though these are apartments, the feel of it and the amount of money that's being put into the interior of the project itself, or the interior of the units, is a lot more than what you would see in a different classification for a multifamily development. So that's one of the reasons why I mentioned, and I have another one on later, where there is a lot of money is being put into a project like this to make sure you have more of that pride of ownership, even though you're renting, but it's not your standard apartment. So the idea with this, with the low density and the more amenities in here, is to give it a more higher end feel than what you typically may see.
Thank you, Commissioner. So first and foremost, I would say that infill projects are typically, they bring a different set of challenges, and so I do understand the residents' and neighbors' concerns in terms of what type of project, what type of challenges that may bring, but I also understand the need for housing and certainly the amount of work that has gone into the design, ultimately the implementation of this project, and what it really stands for. I think it's interesting, Ms. Williams that came up and made the point around what affordable housing means in terms of different occupations and things that we have to face. And I know a lot of times we hear affordable housing and think right away it's going to be riddled with crime and challenges, and that's not always the case. In this particular project, I think it's the right project. I also think that in terms of affordable housing and also having the additional amenities, this is something that the area needs. To my fellow commissioner's point, though, would the developer be interested in installing the 36-inch box trees from the onset to alleviate the concern?
If we can, we prefer to put more 24-inch boxes in there and add more trees and work with your staff to add more trees in there, because the way we were already positioning it, because of some of the concerns, we were looking at potentially doing double row of trees in there, so we'd prefer to do that, so we could stagger them better and have better canopies in there.
And ultimately, I think I'm okay with that. Any other comments?
Through you, Chair, I think the project is great. I mean, my biggest concern with this was the residential adjacency setback and the waivers, but you have plenty of space for those landscape trees. So I think a double row, I would prefer a double row of trees to protect the neighbors from the view of those buildings that are a little bit closer than would normally be allowed by code. I think that provides greater protection and is more context sensitive to the residential property. So I'm okay with 24-inch box trees as long as you have that double row.
And for Commissioner Walsh?
Thank you. Just one comment. When I reviewed the plan, it was really interesting to see it's one of the first ones in a while where they built in a playground and all sorts of different other areas. And that, to me, it really promotes families. It promotes just everything in the community to make it positive. So I think it's a great project. It'll get my support. Thank you.
Great. And point of clarity, is the landscaping we're talking about just on that residential side with a single-family residential? It's not all the way around that we're talking about?
No, that was just my one concern, was on that residential side, to kind of figure out, again, a way to create some additional mitigating landscaping. But if Mr. Gronauer is saying that they're going to install double rows and stagger it so that you'll have a really nice, dense, set of mitigation, then I guess I could be okay with that. I just look at the 36-inch boxes as a way to have that sort of extra, height right away. And that was something I asked when I spoke to your office about, was if that was something that might be possible, or where you guys were going with that. So again, I'll defer to Commissioner Williams on this, but that's just my concern, and I'm just trying to think about a way for you to be with this amazing project, because I do think it's really fantastic. The elevations are beautiful. To just be good neighbors and try to do whatever you can to work with those southern border homeowners on their concerns.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with that, I'd like to make a motion for approval on item 24-0067A through C, subject to staff's conditions, and you do agree with staff's conditions?
Staff conditions, and for clarification, on the south property line, double row of trees, and then also building 2 to be rotated east and west for the windows and balconies.
Correct.
And Mr. Chairman, through you, this item, since we do have a general plan amendment, will move forward to City Council, and staff will work with the applicant to get a revised drawing that will reflect those changes for City Council.
Great. All right, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. Oh.
Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
Okay. And that motion carries.
Thank you for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, that item will move forward to City Council on May 15th.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 30, 240069, applicant owner, Integral Partners Park Place Center, Las Vegas, LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request on the southwest corner of Cyrus Avenue, Sirius Avenue, and Rancho Drive. Staff recommends approval. Related item 30A, 240069 VAR1, to allow a 70-foot tall off-premise sign where 40 feet is the maximum allowed. And related item 30B, 240069 SCP1, for proposed conversion of an existing 70-foot tall, 28-foot by 20-foot consolidated sign into an off-premise sign not qualifying as a city communication sign use. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff has determined the sign's height and design remains harmonious with the surrounding area, which is primarily developed with commercial, industrial, and industrial land uses. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the requested variance and special use permit, which will allow the existing consolidated sign to be utilized for off-premise advertising. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening, Jennifer Lazovich, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here tonight representing the applicant. We appreciate staff recommending approval of the item and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. This has been noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to Commissioner Schwabman.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I don't have an issue with this, as seeing as the sign's already constructed, and condition number 8 requires them to tear down the other off-site advertising billboard signs, so we're not adding to this, we're taking away a sign, so I can get behind it. And if there's no other comments, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
Item 3024-0069, 30A and 30B, I move to approve, subject to staff's conditions, which you agree to, Ms. Lasevich?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Kasama? Commissioner Kasama?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action unless appealed to the city clerk within 10 days.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to, let's see, 31 was obeyed. 32, related items 32A through 32E. 240075, applicant Greystone, Nevada, owner Centennial Hills Mob Owners LLC, MOB Owners LLC, for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request at the northwest corner of Durango Drive and Grand Montecito Parkway, Ward 4. Staff recommends denial. 32A, 240075, MOD1, from UCTC, Urban Center Mixed Use Town Center, to MTC, Medium Density Residential Town Center. Related item 32B, 240075 VAR1, to allow a stub street termini where a cul-de-sac or hammerhead is required. Related item 32C, 240075 SUP1, for proposed gated community with private streets where a waiver to allow one active gated entrance where at least 2 are required. Related item 32D, 240075 SDR1, for proposed 117-lot single-family attached residential subdivision with waivers of town center street development standards. And finally, related item number 32E, 240075 TMP1, Durango and Grand Montecito, for proposed 117-lot single-family attached residential subdivision. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed development does not align with the overall intent of the Town Center Development Standards, as the parcels in the general vicinity of the subject site are intended for commercial or mixed-use development, which is not compatible with the medium-density residential request. In addition, the site does not meet Town Center standards, as evident by the requested waiver and variance requests of the required private street standards and to allow only one entrance and exit. Therefore, staff recommends denial of all applications. Please note, an additional letter of protest was received since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Stephanie Allen, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here on behalf of the applicant Lennar Homes. This property, as mentioned, is located at the corner of Grand Montecito Parkway and Durango. The 215 is to the north of it, as well as Centennial Parkway to the north. And there's a long history on this property. Essentially what we're here today for is a down zoning, for lack of a better word. I'm using that term loosely. It's actually a major modification, but it is a reduction in what is currently approved on the property. Back in 2022, the property was changed from service commercial, so it's no longer service commercial, to urban town center, which would allow for the high density multifamily project that was approved on the property. So currently today, there's 264 multifamily for rent units approved on this site, a density of about 30 units to the acre, and that's actually a good entitlement until 2025. So if someone wanted to build that today, they could. What we're here for and what we're proposing, we believe is more compatible with the area and specifically with the residents that are near this site, the single-family residents that are near this site. We're proposing over half of those units. We're proposing 117 for-sale townhomes, so still multifamily, but townhomes. Lennar does a really great townhome product that is a for-sale opportunity in the area, and we think it makes sense just from a transition standpoint. So before I get into the site plan, I wanted to provide that history because I do think it's relevant. Also, in looking back at the prior application, there were about 28 neighbors that came to that first neighborhood meeting for the multifamily, several of whom came to Planning Commission and Council when it was approved with that higher density. We did have a neighborhood meeting on April 1st, and we had a handful of neighbors. You'll hear from them. They live down in these single-family homes to the south of us, and generally, their preference is that they'd rather be commercial. From our perspective, Lennar obviously doesn't do commercial, so there's not a lot that we, as far as my client goes, can do about commercial on the property, but I would like to just point out that it's sat vacant for a really, really long time. In fact, I think it may have even gone through bankruptcy at one point. So if commercial was going to go there, it would have gone there. It's been a really long time and sat vacant for a really long time. And then multifamily was approved, and that has not come to fruition. So I think that the opportunity today is for still a higher density housing. It's about 13 units to the acre, but a good transition, as I mentioned, from all of the commercial that's here to multifamily townhomes here, and then below Durango, you've got the single-family homes, and then obviously the rest of the area provides the services that are needed with the offices and the mixes of uses within this area. But in any area, I think a mix of use includes residential, and so we think that that's what we're proposing here. In fact, in your centennial goals, I'm just going to read a couple of them, but this is your Centennial Hills Sector Plan goals. These top few goals, I believe, meet what we are proposing today as far as implementing a balanced land use plan that supports the appropriate circulation, infrastructure, and public and private services, protects and enhances existing residential neighborhoods, those to the south, while providing essential goods and services to those residents. So there's obviously all the mixes of uses, but I think this use is a good transition between the single-family homes to the south and more intense uses to the north and to the west and east. Promote a mix of land uses that are appropriate and compatible with the existing development. Promote efficient use of existing public services, minimizing the cost of service extension. So those are the goals of the overall plan. I think that this project meets those goals and is in fact appropriate for the area. So let me show you what we are proposing. This is the landscape plan that shows you the ample open space that's proposed, as well as the townhome layout. There's already an existing curb cut on Grand Montecito Parkway, which is where that was originally going to be for the multifamily, so we're utilizing that exact same curb cut, and we've worked with Fire, or Lennar and their team has worked with Fire to in fact widen that entryway, excuse me, widen that entryway to 50 feet, so it'll be even wider than it is today, kind of bowing out for some additional space there for emergency access. We do have an emergency access point through the commercial here located on the west side, but generally speaking, the 117 units would access from Grand Montecito, which was the original plan with the density at twice what it is today. So that was exactly the plan that existed before and that we're proposing today. We are asking for a gated entry, which makes it, a nice, secure opportunity, but there's also a ton of opportunity for walkability, pedestrian accessibility with all of the services that are in the area, and with the light that's at Durango and Grand Montecito. So it's a great opportunity for sort of an urban feel at the same time as a secured for-sale product. All of these are rear-loaded townhomes, so you'll have 2-car garages in each unit that are rear-loaded, and they each have an 8-foot private courtyard area, so they will have some private open space as well. And there's about 80,000 or a little over that for open space within the overall community. Getting to the waivers and the variances, because I do want to walk through those are important. The variance request is with respect to the stub streets that we're showing on this plan. You all have seen those before. In fact, you've approved them before. What that comes down to when asking for, and the reason for I believe the reason for the recommendation of denial with staff is concern for trash and safety services with those stub streets. So we were able to have Republic Services review our plan and make sure that they're okay. This is a letter from them saying that they are approving the project and able to service the project with the streets laid out the way that they are. Also, we have an email from the fire department and reaching out to them with the saying that fire didn't have any issues with the proposed stub streets. So I think we've addressed the safety concerns and the trash enclosure or trash issues service as well. So that's the variance request. The special use permit is to allow the private streets and the one gate that I mentioned. You have approved one gate for similar projects. I brought an example of one. It's actually in Ward 6 of a similar project, a little bit different, but it's a townhome project in Ward 6 off of Durango as well, and the 95. But this is the layout of the project, and it did have one access point. In fact, the access point was into and through the commercial, so lesser access from what we're proposing with this project. But this was approved with one access point. And actually, it's a similar staff report. If you look at it, this is the staff report from 2022, and it's a similar request from service commercial to medium, and then the exact use permit to allow a gated community with private streets with the waiver for one active entrance where two are required. So that has been approved, and that's just one example of a prior approval there. The request for the street sizes, so we're asking for 30-foot private streets internal to the development where 37 feet are required. That reduction is unique to the town center area. You can do 30 feet private streets pretty much anywhere else in the city of Las Vegas, and so we're asking to be consistent with other projects by doing that 30-foot private street. And that is it for the waivers, the variance, and the use permit. That leaves the tentative map and the site development plan review, which I've gone through pretty much in detail with respect to the density at 13.3 units to the acre, 117 units, which is half of the density that could be built there today. We think it's compatible and appropriate for the area, and in fact an improvement from what's currently approved, and would very much appreciate your approval today.
Thank you very much. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Get your name and address for the record, please.
Want the map?
There you go. So my name is Shane Scott. I'm actually, these buildings right along here are individually owned by small businesses, doctors, dentists, that sort of thing, eyeglass, optometry, that sort of thing, real estate company, broker. I think that this should not have been approved for what is there. This is much better than what is already there. And again, these right here are office condos. And so I own this office building right here, and I think it's much better than what's already approved. I think it was a mistake to approve what was previously approved, and I wish it would remain service commercial, have remained service commercial, but we've already gone past that, and I think what is proposed is much better than what is currently approved. So I would support the project, and my address is 6240 North Durango, which is actually at the site. The only question I wanted to make sure is I do support the exit on Montecito Parkway. It's not super busy right now. The tech school is out here. This is the tech school, and of course, like this is Walmart behind here. So I support the entrance and exit here. And I do not support any type of cross parking with the commercial. It is already extremely tight, and that was my biggest complaint previously, is they have so many apartments in there. and they didn't have the required number of parking spots, and they were talking about cross-parking with commercial, and that we had plenty of parking, and that is not true. Our parking lots are full all the time. And I do know that the homeowners, and if, I live pretty close, but outside the notice area, I know some of the homeowners would prefer it, not to be this high a density, but I think it's much better than what's already approved. I would support it.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Brian Miller, 6230 North Durango.
If I could, there you go. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you say Brian? I'm sorry.
Brian.
Brian.
Yep. Sorry, I got a hoarse voice.
No problem.
I am also an owner of the office complex to the west of that. And I would agree with the prior speaker as far as this is a much better option than the apartment complex. But at the same point, any rational person could probably see that apartment complex should never have been approved, right? With not enough parking for it, no site improvements, no nothing like that. It probably should never have been approved, so that's to the side. This is a much better option. However, I've got to tell you, it just still doesn't fit, right? If you look all around it, it's all commercial. It's kind of an island unto itself if you're going to put townhomes in there. I would still, like the last speaker, prefer commercial. That's kind of what was sold to us when we bought and bought into that location. It still fits. The area needs commercial, needs restaurants, needs other services, small businesses to support the area. I do like the idea of the townhomes versus apartments for sure. I would say, have we done a traffic study to see, 117 condos, what is it? It's 1.9 cars per home ownership. Is that the average? That's like 200 plus cars coming in and out of that small Montecito Road. Is that going to overload that area? That would be a question I would have. But, as it is, yeah, much better than the 241, which should never have been approved in my opinion. How it got there, I'm not sure. But it still, to me, does not fit.
Thank you, Brian. So I think my takeaway from the last two speakers, you're for it, not for it, but for it again, not necessarily sure, but for it.
If you're going to do something like that, yes. But if you could change it back to commercial, better.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, anyone else in the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will ask the applicant to come back up if you have anything to add.
Just quickly, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the speakers. I should have mentioned we do have to do a traffic study, and we've already been having conversations with your traffic department. Grand Montecito is a 90-foot right-of-way, so even though it's not an arterial, as mentioned in your staff report, it is a 90-foot right-of-way, and then Durango, I believe, is 120. So we certainly have some good roadways around us to support traffic, and it'll be, as I mentioned, half the density that was originally contemplated. The shared parking is a great point. I'm glad they brought that up. So that we meet the parking requirements on this site. We actually exceed it. So the prior application did have a shared agreement to share parking with the commercial development. We will not need that, and we meet all of the parking requirements. And one other thing I just wanted to point out that makes for a good plan, in my opinion, is the fact that you've got parks in the area as well and walkability. So you can see there's parks just to the south of this. That's great. We've got amenities within our project, but also there's all of the things outside of the project which are only successful with people. So having some people there helps and adds to the vibrancy of the area, and we think it'll actually be a good complement to the area. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions and would very much appreciate your approval.
Thanks. And before I turn it over to Commissioner Kusama, I just had a couple quick questions. I kind of sit with what the owners to the west, their comments on where they went back and forth with it. I get it. I don't love the circulation of the site plan with the one in and out. I will support it. Is there any pedestrian access like,
Yes.
I missed the pedestrian side. I was trying to find it.
So for sure through the gate on Grand Montecito, and there's sidewalks and existing infrastructure out there. I'm not sure, I know we have emergency vehicular access into the commercial. If that's a recommendation and you want pedestrian access into the commercial, we can do that. Okay.
Hi, Doug Rankin with Lennar Homes. We have pedestrian access out to there. As a matter of fact, we worked with Public Works. They required the gates to open out, so we had to recess them a little bit. But each group of buildings that front on Durango and Grand Montecito have an access point to there from those townhomes.
Okay.
So we have multiple pedestrian access points to both Durango and Grand Montecito. All the homes face out on the Durango and Grand Montecito, those that are on the edge, so they face out towards the public way.
Thank you for that clarity. And one more quick question on the emergency exit. I see there's 2 trees there. Are there's going to be wide enough to get out in the event of emergency?
Once again, it's a conceptual site plan and a conceptual landscape plan. Yeah, where there's a conflict, trees lose, so we'll move those trees somewhere else. So they're not in conflict with that. I saw that when it came through, but we will make that adjustment, and those trees will move away so that there's direct access. The other item I wanted to point out is, even though we only have one entrance, the town center arterial is only 80 feet wide. The Grand Montecito is 90 feet wide. It's just not classified as an arterial in town center. So we actually have a bigger street, which would allow the one gate, the one access. And as a matter of fact, we worked with fire in order to widen our entry. So we're 50 feet wide. So we have 25-foot entryways from Grand Montecito, where normally you'd have 12. Ours are 25 feet each directions.
And these were for sale townhomes?
They are for sale townhomes.
I will turn over to Commissioner Rogan for some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just through you, and before we switch it over to Commissioner Kasama, I just want to piggyback off from what you were saying. After I spoke with you, Ms. Allen, I did look at the project, and I share the concerns about the interior site with the pedestrian access. You're pointing out the different parks that are in the area, and certainly if a pedestrian is trying to get to those parks, they'd have to walk out onto Grand Montecito and then walk south. It's pretty far. So I think as part of your traffic impact analysis, you do have to look at the pedestrian circulation. So I suggest that you look to provide a greater pedestrian access, maybe through some of these fences onto Durango, so that those interior homeowners are not just going out onto Grand Montecito.
Okay, will do. And there is a light there, so that helps, existing light, so that helps with the access.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Walsh, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question. I wanted to go back to the disposal portion of it. Are they going to have satellite sites next to the parking lots of where each building's going to go for, bringing out the trash and then the collection points? Most of them build these little home-type things where they pick it up.
So each unit will have their own trash, and it'll fit within the garage. Lennar does a great job at creating a space within the garage for their trash, and then they'll actually collect the trash in the street just like any other neighborhood.
So it'll be an individual pickup then?
Correct, yes.
Oh, great. That's good to see. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Kasama?
Hello. So, yes, just regarding this item, I do appreciate the history that was given on this site, because, yes, it was approved at a certain level of density. This proposal that is before the commission now is almost essentially cutting the density that was previously approved in half. One of my concerns was with the circulation of this community. It is good that there is an emergency access gate to the north, and that Public Works has looked at it, at least in terms of fire and safety. That was a major concern. I do encourage the applicant to look into the concerns from other commissioners regarding the pedestrian access to other amenities. But with that in mind, since this is a better, I believe, fit for the community in terms of what was previously approved. And I do think that there's a certain amount of critical mass that has to justify higher intensity commercial uses. That is good to have foot traffic on it for the surrounding commercial that already exists in the community. as well as, the emergency circulation, if you will. So maintaining that fire and safety are able to access the community with that emergency access gate to the north of the community. With that in mind, as well as just encouraging the applicant to look in, to look into how they can accommodate pedestrian foot traffic, I am happy to make a blanket approval for this agenda item. So with that in mind, unless there are other further comments by the commissioners, I would make a motion to approve this agenda item as a blanket motion. And I do apologize where I am at. I am unable to access the City of Las Vegas website plus the agenda item. So just confirm for staff, is this agenda item 32? Just would like to confirm that.
Yes. Mr. Chairman,
Okay,
yes, those items would be 32A through 32E.
Okay, with that in mind, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda items 32A through 32E.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
And that's subject to conditions.
It's subject to staff's conditions.
Yes.
Just need Commissioner Kasama's, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and that motion carries.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, those items will go to City Council on May 15th.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 33 with related items A and B. 240078 applicant owner GMC Property 1 LLC for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request at 600 West Owens Avenue, Ward 5. Staff recommends approval. Related item 33A, 240078 SUP1 for proposed mortuary or funeral chapel use. And related item 33B for 240078 SDR1 for the proposed replacement of a previously approved single-story 13,144 square foot funeral chapel development, 210387 SDR1, with an existing one-story 13,065 square foot building. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, development of the site as proposed substantially conforms to the site approved through a previous plot plan review as exercised through the building permit issued January 28, 1982. The proposed changes will enhance the aesthetics of the site and provide a well-maintained commercial amenity in this area. The mortuary or funeral chapel use can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the surrounding land uses. Staff therefore recommends approval of the requested special use permit and site development plan review subject to conditions. If approved, the previously approved special use permit and site development plan review from 2021, including all conditions of approval, would be expunged. Please note there were additional documents of support and protest received after publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Lisa Briscoe with KME Architects.
Thank you.
Address?
Did you want to give your name and address?
Sure, Raymond Giddens, owner, 353 East Bonneville Avenue.
Thank you, Raymond.
Kyle Giddens, also owner, 2737 North Lamb Boulevard.
Thank you, Kyle.
89115.
Thank you. Please, would you like to tell us about the application?
Just that we respectfully request your approval.
Okay. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item was actually before the Commission for approval in 21, and they're back today. I think with some, the entitlements are a little bit less than what we originally approved, and so they're really cleaning up the site and actually vastly improving the site from its current conditions, and staff has no issues with it. Neither do I, and so I can support it.
Great. Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion for approval on item 24-0078, A through B. Motion for approval subject to staff's conditions, and you do agree with all the staff's conditions?
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Kasama?
I'll be voting yes on this item, and just to put it on record, I will be leaving this meeting, so you can register me as an absent vote for the rest of the duration.
Thank you.
Okay. And that motion carries.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Chair, these items are final action unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 34, 240079, SUP1 applicant Rodnick Stokes, owner Harmony Residential LLC, Series 1 for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for proposed community residence, including family community residence and transitional community residence use at 5909 Harmony Avenue, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this community residence use is proposed to be located approximately 520 feet away from an existing community residence where at least 660 feet of separation is required. Staff finds that a second similar community residence on the same street would lead to oversaturation of this use sufficient to alter the character of the residential neighborhood, and therefore recommends denial of the special use permit subject to conditions if approved. Please note there were additional documents of protest received after publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Rodnick Stokes.
Thanks, Rodnick. Would you like to tell us about the application?
Yes, absolutely. So we have actually been serving the Southern Nevada community for over 8 years. We focus particularly on those who have been diagnosed with traumatic brain injury, particularly for habilitation services. We recently been approved to extend our services to the city of Henderson, and right now we're operating as a conditional use with no more than 4 occupancy, and looking to extend with special permit for 6.
For 6?
Correct.
Okay. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Please come on up. If I could just have you step aside, and we'll get through these comments here. I'll need your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Victoria Gaisley. I am a resident in the neighborhood on Churchill Street, 5808 Churchill, and I want to submit my opposition to this request. I have 2 young babies at home. I don't feel like this is a good area for a rehabilitation living facility, very close to our home in particular. It's also very close to a school, and I just have safety concerns mostly. Again, brain injury, I don't know what that means. Like, are you taking in PTSD people who are war veterans? Are you taking in people who've been in car accidents? I don't fully understand what her transitional living facility would be. I mean, I'm open to changing my mind if I could get a little bit more information, but right now I want to present the opposition.
Okay, thank you for coming out. Anyone else like to be heard on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. And Rodnick, would you like to comment back on some of this?
To go off of what she said, focusing typically for those who have, for example, endured a stroke. None of the recipients are diagnosed with PTSD and or any mental disorders. So it's really just focusing on ADLs, which is, transferring of the clients, bathing, assisting with their food. So there's not, in reference to what she is stating, any of concerns of safeties with the clients going out and about disturbing the community.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to the commission for discussion, going to Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, I took a look at this application. I did not meet with the applicant. I'm familiar with Tony's House, which is the other existing use that's just within this circle. I think it's one or two houses to the, I guess it would be to the east. It would just be outside the circle. So we're talking about a very, very close, close to being qualifying for without the special use permit. And so for that reason, I'm okay with the application. I would note for the public speaker that came up that this type of use does not include any type of like sex offender counseling. It doesn't include any type of re-entry program for convicted offenders. It's not, when people see this type of use, they get scared and think that that's what this is, and it's really not. If it were, I would not be in support of it. Let me be very clear. So, but I think that what you're doing, I think is appropriate for this neighborhood, in my opinion, and so I'd support it. This is going to City Council for final approval, so perhaps you should reach out to the City Councilman's office and schedule a time to meet with him and his staff to go over what it is that you plan to do at this particular location. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else have any comments?
Seeing no other lights on Commissioner Rogan.
All right, then I'd make a motion for approval of agenda item 34, project 24-0079 SUP1, subject to all of staff's conditions. And ma'am, do you agree with those conditions?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Rogan, sorry I didn't comment, but I'm following on this one. I know previously we had some time ago another application, but it was much, much closer in nature. And I think, your point to being right there is what I'm following you on. I have no problem with the use and no problem, I think the applicant's well qualified. It's more of that proximity that
I remember the one that you had. It was much closer, and I think it was within the same neighborhood, same block.
Yeah.
This one I think is just right on that line that I'm comfortable with it. If it were any closer, probably not.
Yeah. Okay. Motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item will be forwarded to City Council on May 15th.
Thank you. Moving on to, are we good to keep going? Okay. Moving on to item 36, 36A through 36J, 240086, public hearing, applicant owner KB Home Las Vegas, Inc., for possible action of following land use entitlement project requests on portion of 13.97 acres of northwest corner of Flight Range Avenue and Desert Foothill Drive, APN's multiple PC zone, Summerlin special use land designation. Staff recommends denial. And related items 36A through J, 240086, SCD1 through SCD10 to allow a 1-foot setback to the exterior wall surface from a residential street where 2 feet is required, 1458, 1434, 1429, 1453, and 1477, Whistling Kite Street, 1503 and 1486, Upland Sandpiper Street, and 1441, 1480, and 1440, Nocturnal Flight Street. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff does not support the requested deviations as the building setbacks outlined within the Summerlin Development Standards Manual have been established to ensure harmonious residential subdivision design with the surrounding area. Therefore, staff is recommending denial of all requests. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Bob Gronauer, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. I'm here representing KB Home in these matters. This is a little bit of a flashback to where we were about 30 days ago. It was a different subdivision. This is a new subdivision that is located in Summerlin. This only impacts 10 lots that you see highlighted here in a 144-unit subdivision. And what we have here is, again, this is a second story where we have some architectural pop-outs that actually encroach. It's not on the first floor, it's on the second floor. You approved something similar to this a month ago. That's what these items are here, and it's only impacting the lots that you see here. So it's about 6% of the entire development that we're coming in and asking for that approval. And the Summerlin Design Review Committee did recommend approval after review of this.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in these items? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and go to Commissioner Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I've been out to these sites as well. Saw the one that KB was working on the other side of the development. it looks fine. To me, I mean, to go up in the air and find a variance is like, so anyways, I don't have any problems with this one, so I'd like to make a motion, Chair, if it's...
Please do.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve items for 24-0086 and its subunits of number 36A through J. And that would be for approval as it stands.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
That would be subject to conditions.
Subject to staff's conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, those items are final action unless appealed to the city clerk within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 37, 240087, applicant Michael's Development Company 1 LP, owner Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority, for possible action on the following land use entitlement project at 2601 Sunrise Avenue, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Related items 37A, 240087 GPA 1 from PF to M, 37B, 240087 from CV to R3. Related item 37C, 240087 VR1 to allow 203 parking spaces where 221 spaces are required, and related item 37D, 240087 SDR1 for proposed three-story, 121-unit multifamily residential development with waivers of the perimeter landscape buffer requirements. Can we get the staff report, please?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, the staff report for number 37.
Yes.
Staff supports the requested general plan amendment and rezoning as they are compatible with the existing adjacent land use designations and zoning districts, and staff recommends approval of both. The requested variance to allow reduced on-site parking reinforces the fact that the site has not been designed to comply to Title 19 development standards, and therefore staff is not able to support the requested variance and site development plan review and recommends denial of both. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Again, my name's Bob Gronauer, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. I'm here representing the applicant in these matters. First, I'd like to orient you again to the location of our property. As you can see here highlighted in yellow, it's approximately 6 acres. Just to we are south of Stewart, which is Stewart is up here. To the west here is Eastern, and down here to the south is Charleston Boulevard. Right adjacent to us is Sunrise, and right here is North 28th Street, located right here. So we're on the corner of Sunrise and 28th. We have an elementary school, Sunrise Acres, that is located to the north of us. This is a bus farm by the Clark County School District, which I believe used to be the old Bishop Gorman school site. And to the east over here, you have a middle school. So a lot of this area here is planned for civic uses, existing for civic uses. To the south of us down here is in the county. These are single-family homes that are there. It's master planned for future development, also for potential multifamily at some point in time. But nonetheless, as these are single-family homes here to the south of our property. This is also a general plan amendment for medium density. This is a zone change for R3 zoning. As you know, as I said in my previous presentation, although you can build up to 25 units to the acre, on this project we are just shy of 20 units an acre on this development. It comes out to about 121 units that we are proposing. As you can see here, ingress and egress is going to be on Sunrise Avenue. We did have a neighborhood meeting, and there were a few neighbors that showed up that live down here in the county. One of their concerns, and we'll continue to work with them as we go to the councilwoman's office and work with traffic. This half of the street down here on Sunrise Avenue is actually located in Clark County, and our half is obviously located in the jurisdiction of the city of Las Vegas. The neighbors in this area, they've been working with Commissioner McCurdy's office with respect to trying to ensure that there's no parking here, because during school time, where you have the middle school and you have the elementary school to the north of us, you have excessive traffic in this area, and they're blocking They're parking down here on Sunrise Avenue. So I know Commissioner McCurdy's office is working on that issue with traffic control, and we'll continue to work with the neighbors, and we'll work with the councilman and your traffic department on if there's anything we can do on Sunrise there. With respect to the site plan that you see here, this project's going to cost about $50 million to develop. I mention that because in this area, I think this is a great investment to come in here where housing is definitely needed. We know that because in our neighborhood meeting with the principal of the elementary school there, she mentioned teachers need houses, they're looking for houses. What better place to have it than right here in this general vicinity where we're going to have a mixed-use type of housing on this development. So there is a variance and some waivers, and I could explain them fairly quickly. So we're asking for a reduction in parking. It's about 18 parking spaces. I have several reasons why we believe that the parking that we're providing is justified. Number one, any multifamily developer that is going to build a successful project is going to ensure that they have enough parking on site, because if they do not have parking within their development, no one's going to want to live there. But more importantly, as I mentioned, Michael's is the same developer here. They have well over, as I said, they manage over 70,000 units across the country. Their portfolio, what they see in this type of demographic here and for the affordable housing is typically about 1.5 spaces per unit. If you did that calculation out of what we're proposing, it's approximately 180 spaces, even though we're providing 203. In addition to that, there's the International Traffic Engineer Manual that has affordable housing targeted to be 0.99 spaces per unit. We again exceed those requirements. And then finally, a few years ago, one of the multifamily developers in affordable housing did their own parking analysis here in Southern Nevada on some of their projects. And what they came up with, their parking ratios go from anywhere from 1.1 to 1.6 or 1.7 spaces per unit. So again, we meet and exceed those requirements. With respect to the landscaping, I want to make some clarifications here because we've been working with the planner, and he knows that we'll make sure we'll come in before City Council to clarify some of the issues. It's mentioned in your report that we have only 6 feet of we're supposed to have 6 feet of landscaping in this area. Actually, we have 10 feet of landscaping in this area, and in the small pinch area here, we have 6 feet, and behind our maintenance shack in this area, or maintenance building, we have approximately 6 feet of landscaping in here. So we'll make sure we have the right plans in there that shows that we will be meeting those landscape requirements there and laying everything out, where not only do we have 6 feet in the smaller pinched areas, but we have 10 feet that we're proposing in that area. Along 28th Street in here, along here, it says that we have 5 feet of landscaping that we're providing. This is similar to the previous story where we actually have 10 feet of landscaping in this area. We're asking to put the wrought iron fencing in the middle of that 10 feet. We can move the wrought iron fencing up to the sidewalk here and have 10 feet of landscaping. But as the previous application that we had, we believe having the wrought iron fencing in the middle of that 10 feet aesthetically looks better, and it lays out better in that area. Similar situation that we have on Sunrise, as I'm pointing out to you here down to the south of our property. And the last thing is on the waiver on the internal landscaping for trees, we did make sure we're going to meet all the trees requirements within the internal site. And that's what we have here on our plans. So we'll make sure that the planner has those revised plans or the most updated plans with respect to those landscape requirements. So hopefully that gives you enough comfort to understand what we're proposing with respect to the green space there, because again, we don't want to create any heat islands in here. We understand that concern. So by reducing the parking and making sure we meet those landscape requirements, we feel that this is appropriate for the development in this area. So we'd ask you to approve the applications that are before you, and I know one of the gentlemen that we met at the neighborhood meeting is here, but then I can answer any other questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this? Need your name and address for the record. We do have 3 microphones, so come on up if you'd like to speak. How you doing?
My name is David Gomez. My address is 1713 Walnut Avenue.
I am the City of Las Vegas councilman candidate for Ward 3. This is my area. My business is there, my home is there. As you can see in this picture, this is one of those type of projects right across the street from Roy Martin where he don't even know the name of the school. Roy Martin Middle School has this Garcia Apartments there, and they have a bunch of stuff going on. I had a 14-year-old boy over there shooting guns. Not to mention, if I keep going with some of this other stuff, Pacoima Piru is in the Ernie Craning Housing Authority thing, but when I go and tell them, they don't want to clean it up. I have to go do code enforcement, I got to do all these different things. They don't understand 28th Street gang. They don't understand the area. They just want to plop another development there because they just want to have another development under their belt. I do not approve of this because I have talked to the schools. Now, I served as a zoning commissioner for Clark County School District for 12 years. And the zoning commissioner, I understand geographics, demographics, and everything else, and GIS and everything else that we need to do with transportation. This street is not big enough for any of these guys to get down that street when something happens. There is not big enough. One side is county, one side is city. They're not going to go redevelop that sidewalk over there. They're not going to help those areas over there. We already have a gang-infested area. At 100, and this is a metro, you can find out yourself, 150 bullets were shot in that area. In that area, from 28th Street gang, and they were right there on Eastern Street. We don't need no more affordable housing. There's two there, and this is what you see there. Gangs, enforcement. And then people complain in the affordable housing. They say, you know what? I move in, my friend moves in, they put all their family on the lease. Nobody never gets an apartment because they just keep doing this roundabout thing and nobody does it. I have contacted the Inspector General for the Housing Authority in Washington, D.C., and I have told on them, and I have explained that these people are living in dilapidated housing and all kind of different problems. This is Housing Authority. There's two projects here. I'm pretty sure these guys here can look it up and show it. And these things are not okay to have. My kids go to school there. Their kids don't go to school there. They don't live there. They don't care about our area. That is my area. Those are my people. The Latino people that we asked to show up to this meeting at the town hall at Sunrise Acres Elementary with Nikki, there was a few of them. I get it. They want some things done, and they want things done better for the neighborhood because they care about their homes. They care about what's happening over there.
Mr. Gomez, could you keep it to the site, please? And we need you to wrap up.
But you got to understand my passion for my area. My
I'm sure you
passion is
understand what I'm
very
meaning
passionate
to.
because when you fight, you fight for people. You fight for them.
So I'm going to ask you to wrap up your comments, please.
So in this, if you guys approve this, if you do, trust me, you will see the same existing problems. It will not go away just because you beautify a building. A building beautified does not make these problems go away. Neither does Metro because their hands are full.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Eric Hilbrecht. I live at 95 North 27th Street. Do you have this on can I get this on the camera?
Yeah, if you go right to the middle, you can put it on the overhead there. There we go.
Okay, I live in this property directly across the street from the proposed development.
Okay.
And as a homeowner, I'm not really opposed to this because I understand the need for affordable housing. However, this is in the city of Las Vegas. That's not in my jurisdiction, which is the Clark County unincorporated. So I've been working with Commissioner McCurdy and his staff to mitigate what's going to affect us the most, which would be parking. And really, we don't have that much of a problem with this. We'd rather see something built there. As a third-generation homeowner at the same site, our family's lived here since '42. I have no opposition against this except for the parking and any other impact it may bring upon us. And primarily, as we've addressed a parking issue the developer has, but we also have semi-trucks going to this very area. They go to the recycling plant and a roofing material plant farther down on Sunrise near Mojave. It would be great if somehow those trucks no longer come down Sunrise because as of now, we don't really know how wide Sunrise is. Clark County Development's told me that it's 60 feet wide, but when I measure it physically, it's probably just shy of 55 feet. So we understand there's probably going to be a challenge there with traffic, especially with the school and now with apartments there. If there's some way we can maybe put up signage, perhaps prohibiting trucking, that'd be semi-trucks specifically, big rigs. It would help with the noise and with with the challenges of having 27th Street and then the throat of this future development actually come right on Sunrise, that area there. Other than that, I really have no problem. We're still working with Clark County, but I do look forward to meeting with Commissioner or Councilwoman Diaz, I believe, and maybe voicing concerns with her.
Thank
Right now, my only dog in this dispute is, I don't have a dog in this dispute because I live in the Clark County. I don't live in the city.
Well, you're a neighbor, so thank you for coming out.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Name and address for record, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Maurice Page, MEURICE, PAGE, 1847 Moonglow Peak Avenue, 89084. We are in support of this project. And again, I am speaking on behalf of the Nevada Housing Coalition as I serve as the executive director. And for those that are not aware of the Housing Coalition, we are a 501c3 nonprofit-based, membership-based organization. And our goals is to promote advocacy, community awareness, and other affordable housing initiatives here statewide. This opportunity or this development is going to be an important aspect for this community. Again, this project is designed as a mixed income development, targeting area median incomes between 30 and 80% with an average AMI of 60%. This will also be a 3-story Class A development offering 121 units. This is going to be very vital to our community. We stated it earlier, I stated it earlier, and it's also been stated by other entities that we have multiple individuals from different industries that are underpaid, underworked, and so this is another opportunity for them to be able to get stable housing that they can pay for, so that this way they don't have to choose between, groceries, medical services, child care, whatever the case may be. And as a person that has worked in that community, this will be a great need and hopefully a new start to hopefully building up that community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to be heard in the public hearing? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and ask the applicant to come back up. Some comments? Okay. I'm going to turn it over to the commission. Before I do, I just had one quick question. Do you know if your applicant, the development company, utilizes like the 179D or 45L federal programs? Does that sound familiar? No? Okay. I just asked because it's like a tax qualification and it has a higher standard of building with, say, green certification. So, and that's something that they might not see. It's maybe done on the back end with the CPA, but just had a question about that. Commissioner Schlotman?
Chairman, through you, thank you. A few comments. I live in this neighborhood, so I live less than 6 miles or 6 blocks away, and I know the area. I may not know it as well as this other gentleman, but I'm there day in, day out. I see what's going on in the neighborhood, and I do know the police presence and some of the other mischief that goes on. But I don't think that we should hold back our redevelopment. I mean, holding back redevelopment and just saying we're not going to redevelop just because we have a certain amount of crime within that neighborhood is not going to bring this neighborhood to the next level. We won't get the new sidewalks without the new tax base. We won't get the street trees. This one community has more more trees in that community, in this one community alone, than probably the whole 6 or 8 blocks, surrounding it. So there's a lot of good that will come out of a community such as this. And for the gentleman that is in the county, just because you're in the county, it doesn't mean that you can't come up here and express your opinions. You have just as much of a dog in this race as if you lived in the city. You're directly affected. I can't look at county rules and ordinances, but I can look at how this will affect you living directly across from it. As far as the gentleman back here, I'll ask Mr. Pyatt. I'm not sure if there's any rules or ordinances or anything on trucks going through that neighborhood, but is there anything that you can add from a city standpoint?
Through the chairman, to Commissioner Schlotman, I think there's something we could look at between now and council, but I don't because it's two jurisdictions, you'd have ingress on one side, you'd have eastbound on the county side, westbound on the city side. It's something we'd have to look into, but I'm sure we can create something on a schedule on the city side for sure, where you could have like no truck traffic or something like that, but it's something we could look into.
Okay, and maybe it doesn't necessarily have a nexus directly related to a condition for this site, but just so the gentleman knows that's out here, if there's anything that the city or if the county could do to help with some of the truck traffic that's going through that neighborhood. I looked at the fence and listened to Mr. Gronauer as if we would move that fence all the way up to the sidewalk on the interior of the site. We'd have the full 10 feet of landscape buffer going all the way around the perimeter. However, I think that affects the quality of life for the people that's actually living in there if you have a sidewalk buttoned up directly to that fence versus sidewalk with landscape and fence and more landscape. And so I would prefer to leave the plan and the fence alone with the way that it is. And as far as the parking goes, we've seen these parking analysis time and time again, downtown, not in downtown, out in the suburbs. But I mean, having 200 and where am I at? So the 203 parking spaces where 221 parking spaces are required. You're right there. I mean, that's a lot more than what we've seen on a lot of recent projects that we've approved. So I don't have the concern with the parking or that the parking's going to be overflowing out into the neighborhood. So if there's no other comments, it looks like we do have more comments.
If I may, just quickly, thank you. Again, Mr. Gronauer, thank you for bringing this project forward. Workforce housing is really important, and I also just want to echo what Commissioner Schlottman said about you bringing the greenery to this area, because this is one of the highest points of heat island mapping for the area. And the only question I had was, are these 24-inch trees or 36-inch trees? And I couldn't tell on the landscape.
Yeah, they're all 24-inch box trees, and I know the next question is because of the budgets and the evaluations that went through for the RFPs, it is 24-inch box trees that we're conditioned into.
Okay. Thank you, though, for addressing that, and again, thank you for bringing some green and some canopy to this area that looks otherwise pretty much like a big old urban heat island. So thank you again for this project. Thanks.
Thank you. And I'm fine with the 24-inch box trees because, I mean, if you look at the number of trees, there's 100 trees on this site. So it's amazing to be able to bring that many new trees and plants to this neighborhood. So if there's no other comments, Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
Yes, on item 37, 24-0087, all items 37A through D, move to approve subject to staff's conditions, and you agree with all of the staff's conditions?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. That motion carries.
Thank you, and have a good night.
You too.
Mr. Chair, those items will move forward to the May 15th City Council meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to item 38, 240094, applicant Pueblo Medical Imaging, owner Lido Park LLC, bless you, for a possible action on the following land use entitlement project requests at 2622 and 2628 West Charleston Boulevard, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Related item 38A, 240094 VAR1, to allow 27 parking spaces where 32 parking spaces are required for parking impaired development, bless you. Related item 38B, 240094 VAR2, to allow a 34% lot coverage where 30% is the maximum allowed. And finally, related item 38C, 240094 SDR1, for a major amendment to an approved plot plan reviews 15 and 18 for the proposed addition of 408 square foot modular building to an existing 11,386 medical office clinic development. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, although the existing site is parking impaired, the applicant is proposing to further reduce parking by expanding its facilities and providing additional access to refuse storage. Addition of the proposed building would also increase lot coverage, which is already non-conforming with respect to the requirements of the CD district. As no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance relating to the physical characteristics of the property has been presented to warrant the requested variances, staff finds the hardship to be self-imposed and recommends denial of the variances and associated site development plan review with conditions if approved. And staff has added a condition of approval that allows the modular building to remain for 2 years after the SDR has been exercised. After then, an extension of time may be filed to keep it there for an additional period of time.
Okay, thank you.
And then one more thing. Note there were additional documents of support and protest received after publication.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Laura Drea, 520 South 4th Street. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, which is Pueblo Medical Imaging. This is a company that provides MRIs. Pueblo is the last remaining tenant on the subject property. Within the last 3 years, other tenants have vacated and the property was sold. Notably, within the last year, this buyer has purchased the adjacent commercial property that is currently not occupied. It's showed right here, and this is the subject property. Over the last decade, the MRI business has enjoyed a steady growth that has necessitated a second machine. With the property's redevelopment under consideration, Pueblo is reluctant to invest in electrical upgrades needed to install an additional machine, as this is an expensive undertaking in a building that was originally constructed in 1947, and again, we don't know how long it will remain standing. The proposed solution is to place a modular machine on site to operate in the interim while awaiting the redevelopment. It can be placed in an area where it is largely screened from view from Charleston by the building itself and a row of parked cars and the site's mature landscaping. This is a photo taken from across the street on Charleston. You can see the mature landscaping here towards the back of the site, which is more than 100 feet long, almost 200 feet. There would be a row of cars, I think about 10 to 13, and then half of the modular machine might be visible from behind. So it's set pretty far back. The placement does not disrupt circulation, and it only removes one parking space. The staff report is principally concerned with the parking impaired status, which was historically the case as the site dates back to the 1940s. Nonetheless, the Pueblo's lease space is 4,500 square feet, requiring only 18 spaces per code. The 27 on-site spaces are sufficient to accommodate this, as there will be no additional leases signed for the remaining lifespan of the building. With this application, the parking situation is sufficient and will no longer impact surrounding properties. With that, I ask for your support, as Pueblo would like to remain in the medical district during this period of transition, and I hope I can answer any questions.
Thank you very much. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you, Chair. When I met with Ms. Drea about this project, or spoke on the phone with her, I had concerns because I didn't like the look of the temporary MRI machine was going to have to be made to look like a permanent building, and I just thought it looked terrible, and I thought it was something that I would have rather preferred that they just kept the portable-looking MRI machine that rather than try to affix it to the ground and make it look like a building. But apparently we can't do anything about that. It has to be this way for this project to go forward. I took to heart what Ms. Drea was saying, that this is a building that is most likely going to not be there in 2, maybe 5 years, and so this is just a temporary situation, and so that's why I asked staff to add a condition that made sure that this is temporary, that this is for a 2-year period, and since this is probably going to be final action here tonight, they'd have to come back before us to get that extension of time in 2 years so we can kind of reassess whether this is something that we want to continue moving on. The last point I do want to make is this building is on Charleston. We're doing the plan for the Charleston area right now. I think that the city or the owner of this property will probably be coming back at some point in the next 2 years with some sort of zoning request given that new plan that might be coming out. And so we might see some redevelopment along Charleston, especially as that plan for either light rail or bus rapid transit comes along. So I do believe that there is some transition that's going on. So I'm inclined to support it. I do want to hear what other commissioners have to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Schlotman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had the same concerns when I talked to Laura, and the trailer looks fine now, and I don't think anybody would ever complain, in the short term. But in the long term, what happens is these trailers, they get graffitied, then you have to paint over them, then you don't have the same finish, the same color, and then you start having more and more issues where it looks run down. And so I don't have a problem in the short term. I do have a problem in the long term, and I won't be here in the long term. And that's what I told Laura, that I will be moving on before this expires in 3 years or whenever that is. So I hope that you will look at it and make sure this doesn't continue as a temporary trailer in this neighborhood, because I think there's a lot of great things that's happening in this area. And I just want to make sure that this isn't an eyesore that we have to look at in 5, 8, 9 years from now. So I'll support you in your decision, but those are my comments. Thank you. And my concerns.
Yeah, and Commissioner Rogan, I think you're spot on with your approach. I mean, it is a transitional area. There's a lot of eyeballs over there and people looking to do different developments in the medical district. And I think that, we've also seen where the old nothing better than a permanent temporary solution, right? And so I think having that condition on there is how I definitely could get behind it as well. So, seeing no others, would you like to make a motion?
All right, with that being said, then you accept all the conditions, including the new condition?
Yes, we accept all the conditions, including the added condition, which I believe reads, apply for an EOT if this is still standing 2 years from now, and whatever comes first. If the building is demolished and we cannot operate on a construction site, then the problem solves itself. So we accept that condition.
All right, thank you very much. With that being said, with regard to agenda item 38, project number 24-0094, make a motion for approval for items 38A through 38C.
So motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Excuse me, Chair, is that an added condition?
Mr. Chairman, through you, the condition was added as a blue sheet, and it's part of the supplemental packet that we provided to you prior to the meeting.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And the motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, these items are final action unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to final item of the public hearing portion, 39-240101, MSP1 applicant, Clark County School District. Owner, School Board of Trustees for possible action on land use entitlement project request for proposed wall sign with animated LED display, an existing wall signage at an existing public primary school at 7350 Tillwood Street, Ward 6. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed animated LED wall sign does not meet Title 19 residential protection standards for illuminated signage. Although the sign is relatively small in size, it is directly visible from single-family residential properties along Tealwood. Staff therefore recommends denial of the master sign plan request subject to conditions if approved. Please note there were additional documents of support and protest received after publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. Good evening. Paulette Marshall, CCSD, Real Property Management, 1180 Military Tribute Place, 89074. This project is a proposed new animated wall sign at Betsy Rhodes Elementary School, as shown on this elevation. The proposed sign will convey school-related information to parents and students. A voluntary informal neighborhood meeting was held on April 2nd that had one attendee, and he did not express any issues with the sign. The new LED sign is smart, customizable technology and can better communicate with the parents and students. The district would appreciate an approval for Rhodes Elementary School's project. We do agree with staff's conditions. Thank you for your time and attention. I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and go to Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you. So I have not had a chance to talk to you about this, and I am a little bit concerned about, you know, the neighbors and the signage. And so what I would request is, and I don't believe that I was aware of the neighborhood meeting on April 2nd, and it would have been nice to have the opportunity to have the project presented to me so I would have all my questions answered. So what I think I'm inclined to do at this point is to make a motion to obey this for 30 days so that you and I can have a conversation a little bit more about the...
I would like to clarify that we did provide the neighborhood information via email on March 22nd.
To me?
To the email that we have for you.
Okay. And if that's the case, then my apologies, but I still stand by my, I need a little more information.
Sure.
And I'll double check that. So with that, I'd like to, unless there's anyone who has other questions, I'm prepared to make a motion to obey this for 30 days.
So motion on the floor, please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Okay, moving on to director's business. Item number 40240132 TXT1, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas. For possible action on a request to amend LVMC 1912 regarding the individual care group home use and to provide other related matters. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposal before you tonight would amend Title 1912 for the individual care group home land use that provides day or overnight care for 7 to 12 children or dependent adults. Currently, the minimum lot size for the use is 6,500 square feet, which is a non-waivable standard. This amendment would allow for an applicant to request a waiver of the 6,500 square foot minimum lot size requirement for child care only. Adult daycare would still require a non-waivable minimum lot size of 6,500 square feet. This will align the city requirements with other jurisdictions in the valley, as well as provide more opportunity for home-based child care facilities in underserved areas of the city, and staff is recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone like to be heard on this item? Seeing no one, I will turn it over to the commission for discussion. I will start with Vice Chair.
Yeah, I would just add, understanding the removal of the 6,500 square foot requirement on this, the idea is to give more opportunity to underserved areas with smaller homes and facilities, so I'm in support of it.
Great. Would you like to make a motion?
I sure can.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to make a motion on item 24-0132 TXT1, motion for approval.
Motion on the floor, please cast your votes.
And I am having technical issues, so
I think it popped up.
Oh, here it is. Great, thanks.
Yeah, so, okay, thank you. And that motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that'll be forwarded to City Council in ordinance form.
Thank you. Moving on to citizens' participation. Citizens' participation, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that is subject on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker, is allowed and may be limited. Anyone like to come up and talk? Please come on up. We have 3 microphones. I'll need your name and address for the record.
Eric Hilbrecht, 95 North 27th Street, Las Vegas, Nevada, zip code 89101.
Thank you.
I would like to speak to Commissioner Schultzman for a few minutes after the meeting.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We have 3 microphones. Come on up.
Cool.
Hi there, good evening. My name is Madison Baca, address 911 North Buffalo Drive, Las Vegas. Well, good evening. I'm here to discuss Birth Control Care Center. They've placed their eyes on a location on 3012 West Charleston Boulevard in Las Vegas, and it is set to open on April 13th. This medical district claims to be zoned for surgical procedures. However, we strongly believe the Planning Commission needs to reevaluate this business. Commissioner Rogan, I request that you visit this property and view the business blueprint plans and speak to the business as well. Birth Control Care Center performs clinical and surgical abortions. Their current location on East Sahara Avenue had an incident on March 13th where an ambulance, fire truck, and 2 police vehicles arrived at the scene after an abortion procedure went wrong. I do not believe the location at 3012 West Charleston Boulevard is accessible for a quick emergency response, even though it's 0.08 miles away from an emergency hospital. If you are not already aware, abortion is not safe.
Madison, I'm going to stop you for 1 second.
Oh, sure.
I just want to make sure, because we are a zoning commission and you're speaking on something that's already built, just want to ask our council, is this something process that these citizens would bring forward to us? I just want to make sure that we're on task and you're at the right place. And
right.
Yeah, it's public comment at the end of the meeting. It could be comment on any matter.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Please continue.
Thank you. The FDA has reported that 28 women have died from the abortion pill, chemical abortion. For the safety of Las Vegas residents, we urge the Planning Commission to stop Birth Control Care Center from moving into their new location off of West Charleston Boulevard. The space is not suitable for a business of this nature. 3 or 4 parking spaces at their current location on East Sahara Avenue are designated for pickup. Women who have had surgical abortions cannot physically walk. Therefore, 3 to 4 parking spaces or cones are assigned in the very front. I do not believe there is adequate number of parking spaces to serve the expected growth of this business, which is why they're moving, because they're expecting to grow. It is also a public record that the abortionist on staff, Dr. Adam Levy, is a charged pedophile. Court case has resurfaced where Dr. Adam pled guilty on the count of sexually assaulting his underage daughters. He hurts and violates women. Business is not appropriate for this area. Birth Control Care Center is not synonymous to the existing businesses at 3012 West Charleston Boulevard. Do not let this business continue to viciously exploit women. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Madison. I want a clarity. I just talked to council, and so this is something that would probably be more appropriate at a city council hearing as opposed to the Planning Zoning Commission. And I just want to reach back out to council because I kind of read out the same thing on our agenda.
Yeah, for the record, the public comment period at the beginning and the end of the meeting is limited to matters on the agenda for the Planning Commission. If you'd like to bring the matter to the City Council, the public comment period at the end of the meeting is open on any discussion topic. So you're welcome to return for the City Council meeting. Open comment period at the end, but for the Planning Commission is limited to the items on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay, I read online that the end if it's within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission, and we don't believe that there are adequate number of parking spaces for this business to move into this existing building.
It's under the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission, but it's not on the agenda for discussion. That would be better spoken to the City Council related to that matter.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And since you're all here, if you want to just leave your name and for the record, and if you're speaking about the same thing, that you're speaking about the same thing. You guys have been here all day, so I allow you to do that just out of courtesy. You've been here with us. But again, the comments are more for City Council, like Council said.
Okay.
So if you'd like to do that, you're welcome to do that as well.
All right, if you've already granted their permission for their building permit, do they have to, different procedures, do they have to keep getting granted for those?
I need your name and address for the record, please.
Oh, Tim Clement, 384 Upland.
Thank you, Tim. So if it's already approved and operating, no, it's past us.
It's past you.
Yeah, and that's why, again, this is something that's more couched within the City Council's purview as opposed to the Planning Commission's purview.
Okay.
So,
You guys should move the public comments up front, so you could have told us that. No, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for your own advice, there's a state agencies under Health and Human Services here in Nevada you can also go to if you feel there's inferior care being done there or whatever. There is an avenue for you to go to with the state.
State agency.
Okay. And it deals with the medical aspect of it.
So again, if you'd like to leave your name, address for the record, if you're speaking about the same thing, you could just please tell us you're speaking about the same thing, and then I'm going to ask you to wrap up just because it's really not part of the Planning Commission procedure.
Okay, so you just want our names and address?
Yeah, and if you'd like to say, hey, I'm here speaking on the same thing and agree with the previous speaker, fine with that. And again, I'm just doing it out of courtesy because you've been here so long.
Okay, well, we appreciate that. Yeah, my name's Edgar Alvarez, and I'm with 275 Cascading Avenue, and I'm here for that same issue. And I appreciate you guys, hearing this out, and we just want to let you know that your positions have been given to you guys by God, and you guys obtained that through Him, and we will be facing our Creator, so we just ask you to really acknowledge that, because we will give an account for what we do, and especially in your position of leadership.
Thank you.
So
appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Liberty Milner, 275 Cascading. I am strongly opposed to the commission allowing a pedophile to operate with such close proximity to a residential area, also a family dentistry.
Thank you, Liberty. Thanks for coming out. Name and address, please, for the record.
Nate Hargis of 505 West Hornaday, and I was here to oppose the same thing.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate.
You all have a great day.
You too. Thanks, you all, for coming out. Okay, with that, I guess I'm going to wrap it up. I did have, Commissioner Taylor, one thing came up during one of the applications, just kind of speaking to the commissioners, that the apartment building that built kind of like more of a passive approach on their thing, and it just got me thinking about, I appreciate Commissioner Taylor's approach on keeping the throttle down for the canopy initiative with the trees, but I will say that it just made me think, like, when a project's presented and is built to a standard that is more passive, more efficient, more certified, you get a lot of efficiencies and a lot of, I would say, argue heat island lessened because of compressors that don't run as much on your AC, interior stuff that doesn't run as much, and as a whole, I think that's a benefit. That's something that maybe or maybe not should be considered. I think should be considered as we start to see applicants that propose projects like that. So just wanted to add that on there. Also, Mr. Cross, they had a KFC on the agenda tonight, and I know he was with the Colonel and has a picture, so I would like to see that put up in that facility. I was going to tell the applicant that, but anyways. Yeah. All right. With that. Yeah. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.